Does it really?
We are now. Okay, calling this meeting to order at 6:32. June 1st, regular meeting of the Johnson Selectboard. First order of business is to consider additions or adjustments. Are there any additions or adjustments to the agenda?
Like, I have an executive session at the end for contract negotiations.
Okay. Other additions or adjustments? Hearing none, review of invoices and orders that are going around currently. Public comment and public announcements. Seeing none. Select board updates and concerns.
It's not a current concern, but if we're gonna start doing roadside mowing soon, I'm gonna see something out on Facebook or whatever. People are gonna complain about that every year. Just give them a heads up, and we'll regrow and look good.
Okay. Any others? Okay. Consent agenda, consider approving the minutes for May 18th, 2026.
Welcome to approve as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. All right. Clerk and treasurer's report. Rosemary, over to you.
With that's percent. Budgeted. Expenses are at 72.37. Want to go into some fluid documents?
If there's anything significant you want to point out to us, yeah, that'd be great.
Have we grant money for the Johnson Selectboard for their cash procedure system? I have not heard on out those.
Okay, he needs to purchase it and then send in a receipt for reimbursement?
Yes.
Okay. I can let him know.
Go to regular town.
Yeah, the purchasing.
For our policy,
Yes.
whether we want one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else, Rosemary?
And like one can start to come in for next summer concert series.
The town report was expensive this year.
Yeah. It's 34 pages on the top.
And our consultant services.
Some of that was reimbursable.
Hey. It's a little late for the board, but I don't know if we purchased salt before the end of the year.
I reached out to get some numbers and get some estimates. And at the time, they said they probably weren't going to be looking at providing quotes until June. So I'm going to reach out to them again and try to get something for the next select board meeting.
Do we as the board want to try to spend $35,000 before month is up?
We should at least look at it.
Well, I talked to Jason as far as what he thought he needed for the upcoming year, and he seemed to think 300 tons would be sufficient.
$100 a ton, that's 30 grand. That's if you did go up fuel surcharges.
Right.
How does that compare to what we bought last year?
I'm not 100%. I think it's down. I think it was like 400 or 500 last year.
No,
No,
That means we have left over? Or why is it less? Do we know?
we had some left over.
Okay, so we should look into that, definitely.
well, if we don't purchase it in this fiscal year. Potentially overspent next year, It's usually run a year ahead,
Right.
and I don't know if I'm gonna get paving done this fiscal year, but it doesn't really matter, I guess, because we have a reserve fund.
Right, it comes in and goes out, and we decide to do it.
Anything else, Rosemary?
No.
Everything else in there looks pretty well in line. Peter?
Question for Ebony. What? Are you suggesting that we buy salt now?
I'm suggesting that if we can adhere to our procurement policy and have our salt purchased before July 1. I think it's a good idea.
Seems like a good idea.
I'll reach back out to the vendors and see what they got available. Especially if we get a deal.
I doubt we will, I think it went up, we got bid last.
Is ours open?
I think we're in pretty good shape though. 79% of spend, full 70 72.
Or that's not funding any environmental fund for that.
Quite a bit.
If we use it. Okay, anything else? Questions for Rosemary? Anything else to flag, Rosemary? Okay, all right, thank you. All right, first item on the work session, Guion Confluence and Weston Road floodplain restoration projects discussion. Over to you folks. Megan,
What do they need?
Just unplug the HDMI.
Let me give a little introduction.
yeah, please.
So, handing out the slideshow that Lauren has provided. That's perfect.
Megan, can you bring a chair up towards the owl just so people at home can hopefully hear? So it's not terribly user-friendly here. Just drag one of the chairs up by the, yeah. Thank you.
My voice. A little quiet. So yeah, we are here tonight to meet with the Selectboard, and we have the engineering team, SLR. We have Doug Osborne. Doug Osborne. Then we have Jessica Luitos and Josephine Allen here with FLR International Corporation. They're the engineering team that are working on both the Weston Road and Guion Confluence floodplain restoration projects. And they're going to share kind of a condensed version of the 10% design presentation. In late April, we had a
Get that on here.
well-attended project partners meeting, 10% design review meeting. And we're coming to the select board tonight because our objective here really is to select preferred alternatives to move forward from 10% design phase to the 30% design phase. We have a clean water service provider grant that is funding up through the 30% design phase for selected alternatives. So the goal after tonight's presentation, have a little bit of follow-up discussion and pick a alternative. Some road another alternative for Guion Confluence area floodplain restoration. And that, you know, those would be alternatives that SR would then move forward with all the way to 30%. And the clean water grant just goes through the end of this year, so that's why we're coming to the select board now. And to get some input on those selected alternatives, because SLR would then have the summer to work through the design plans. And then there would be in the fall a 30% design review with the engineering team and project partners. So I will say, just before they dive into the presentation. There's, you know, when you think about cost and you think about benefits such as flood reduction in village and along Weston Road and phosphorus reduction, some of those other benefits, try to weigh them with the cost here. There's a couple of alternatives that kind of rise to the top for them all, kind of like us, but they're input too, but I will say just LCPC's review of the memos and information. Some of the alternatives that rose to the top in our mind, for Westcombe Road was alternative 4 and for Beyond Confluence area was alternative 5. So I'm gonna let Doug just and just kind of dive into the presentation, and show you the alternatives. Give a rundown.
Sure. Can you guys from here, or should we move? Is this okay?
Well, we can hear you fine. I'm concerned about anybody at home that might be listening in.
They'd have to Zoom to be able to show them. They'd have to have Zoom on their laptop.
Okay. Okay, I guess you're fine where you are then.
So I
Thank
think,
you, Adrian.
many of you were, either present, back in April when we did the much longer presentation for, the opportunity to review the memos or the video recording. And as Megan described, we're really here tonight to get feedback on, which alternative we want to kind of move into that concept design phase. So we are going to show a very condensed version of that much longer conversation. So it was a 2-hour meeting with a lot of information, memos. So this is, we're just doing a mini recap, I would say.
Oh, is that meeting online somewhere for people to watch or?
What? So there was a recording, they sent to all the project partners, you would have gotten that as well.
Okay,
Um,
maybe we can post that on our YouTube channel.
yes, you're welcome to post that.
Okay.
Yep.
So if you're on Zoom and you don't see the screen, we're gonna post it on our YouTube channel for you to see a different meeting of this presentation.
Great, I'm going to jump into a little overview of the Weston Road project area. So this is a proposed floodplain project, in the Weston Road area, so. There were previous buyouts back in the early 90s, and then their current buyouts kind of at the end of Weston Road, where those homes have actually recently been moved. And so the goal here is to create some floodplain and space for the river to spread out and store water and potentially reduce flooding upstream of here. So we were able to test a variety of alternatives. So this is a big spaghetti of color, but each of these outlines represents each of the floodplain footprints that we tested in our big Memorial River model. And this was able to, we were able to use this tool to understand what the existing flood levels are in town on this site specifically and upstream to the village. And also see how these floodplains would impact those flood levels. And I guess the one thing I would note is the idea is that with these floodplain restorations, the area that's outlined in the color would be dug down and excavated with fill, and the soils that are there removed to create more floodplain storage. So very similar to the project that you've undertaken at Palms Meadow, where you're kind of just digging out to create the space for the river. So that's what we're talking about in these areas. And like Megan mentioned, the alternative that we're kind of leaning towards at this point, through discussions with LCPC, and from the results that we've observed in the modeling, is alternative 4, which would be lowering the land kind of up closer towards the mobile homes, and just on the right side of Westcombe Road there, and not going into kind of that part of the essentially area. And so, and would also include those areas that were previously the homes down like the southern end of the site. And so this would be a pretty comprehensive floodplain restoration project. It wouldn't include lowering the road and kind of all of those extra variables and things that would go along with that in terms of relocating utilities, relocating the sewers and other sort of things that are infrastructure that would entail. So in that way, it is a more limited scope of the project than some of the other alternatives that we looked at in this assessment. So, but from our assessment of the flooding, it does provide the most benefit given that constraint. So we were able to see like the maximum flood reduction benefit was alternative 6, which included lowering the road. But in terms of scale, we're getting pretty similar results with just alternative 4, which is the one that we're leaning towards at the moment. And so we're seeing about 1/2 foot of flood reduction up into the village for both alternative 4 and the maximum alternative of alternative 6. So there's some local differences kind of within the project site where kind of the maximum flood and the floodplain extent would increase or decrease flooding by about 0.1 feet. So it would have more benefits, but we're seeing pretty promising results with even all of the alternatives, which is something you don't always see with these alternative analyses. And there are some benefits in terms of phosphorus crediting, and other sort of ecological benefits in addition to just the flood reduction benefits, for the site and up into town.
You said there's other ecological benefits besides?
In terms of like river restoration.
Oh, okay,
Removing fill from an area that might not hold to fill.
okay.
Yeah, I think one thing that we found with different funding sources, often they have different values that they're kind of chipping in towards. So we have this column for the P crediting or phosphorus crediting here. This is important to some of the funders like the QUISP, the Clean Water Service Provider, who is really trying to find projects that do reduce phosphorus. That's why that's on here, because it's kind of related to a potential funding source. You know, and Joe mentioned the ecological benefits that, you know, there's other funding sources that kind of really value those ecological kind of riparian restoration benefits as well. But most of this table is focused on flood benefits specifically, because I know that's what we've heard from all of you. Very interesting. But I think at this point, that would be kind of our mini summary, and we are going to move into the confluence area too, but while this is kind of fresh in your heads, we thought we would get some of your feedback on this piece. And if you have comments or thoughts, or if we are feeling like this potential alternative 4 is want to go for or not. One other thing I would mention about alternative 4 is that in its current configuration, it does cross 2 private properties, the White property and the RV property up at this end. So I think if this is the chosen alternative, there is some work to work with those landowners, probably before moving like much further. But you know, a lot of our benefits were looking at kind of the flood benefit, not necessarily adhering to just property lines.
How much of that is private property? I mean, if we had to omit that, what would that do to your reductions?
And I do want to know, we had spoke with property at the beginning of the process, and they were open to this model and potential publication, you know, exploration.
Sorry about this.
Would they have to move? They'd have to move for it to happen?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
It's, and I can show on the map in a second, it's kind of the unused kind of the natural portion of stuff. There we go. So, these 2 properties are the 2 buyouts, and then this portion here is White. The kind of currently more heavily used portion of the property is on the other side of the road where the home and driveway are. So those would, the home and driveway would not be affected. So they're on the other side of the road. And then this is your town property, and then this portion of the Harvard property is the alternative kind of makes a triangle across here. And then balloons out here, follows the road, and encompasses part of this.
Were you surprised that alternative 1 got as large reductions as it seemed to? Because it's considerably less surface area.
Which is like really cool to see that even just a smaller area does provide significant benefit.
Yeah,
So we were surprised. I think there's something to do with the location of the floodplain. It's kind of like a pinch point in the river as it kind of makes that bend. So I think it's important. It is an important piece of this project. Would be to at minimum potentially use that as a look.
What's WSE stand for?
Water surface elevation.
and if we had to, could that be, could it, if we chose alternative 4, could it be phased if we needed to monetarily? Like do the area that's outlined in option 1, alternative 1 initially and so forth?
So certainly have projects that have been phased. One of the things that came up with discussions and following the April meeting with LCPC was that this is a really nice opportunity right now to have the grant to maybe kind of work through the design on all of it, you know, even if you would maybe only do a piece of it now, you kind of have the other portion in the wings.
Mhm.
Are there grant options available for the construction portion?
So, I would say all these projects is, you see, are fairly expensive, but it's probably a good way to characterize them. But again, which is why it's important to kind of balance the benefits of the cost and get you the greatest flood reduction too. But we would basically, you know, we just have the funding currently now to get through 30% design, but the idea is we would cobble together multiple grant sources. You know, first we try to get money to fund design and then once that was underway, try to secure funding for construction. So the answer is there's grants out there, but like it would have to be kind of a combination of grants.
And as you said, there's 2 steps away, right? There's final design first and then construction, which puts it out some number of years.
We're then chasing money. I mean, Holmes Meadow. We had 30% design in 2021, like on the board. That's just happening now.
Yeah.
Give you a
Yeah,
life cycle of
I
a
think
project.
we did the feasibility study in 2020 after an initial audit study of 2019 for that project. That funding source is a little bit on the longer side. The FEMA funding does tend to take a little bit longer than some other funding sources, so. But yeah, it's a good example.
I like
Just
the-
open for discussion,
please.
I can tell you for a fact, I went through a flood in 1984. In Morrisville, water was probably chest high deep, first floor. And I can tell you for a fact, 6 inches less water wouldn't amount to a rat's rear end as far as the flood goes. So alternative 4, you're talking about $2.5 to $3.5 million for 6 inches of water reduction, correct? The 3.5 million, probably the way things go, and with the way things go, we're trying to do things, it'd be probably more than $3.5 million. And I don't really see what 6 inches is really gonna do for anybody, especially with that kind of money.
Well, I think it's important to point out that, you know, some of these floodplain restoration projects, they're not only reducing flooding, say on Western Road, but also benefits Johnson Village too.
But my point is still, 6 inches doesn't really, when things are wet, they're wet. Whether you have 2 or 3 inches more, really doesn't make a bit of difference.
Well, it depends on where your house is and whether your first floor is 6 inches above or below, right?
What's that?
It depends where your first floor is. If you're at 7 inches and 6 inches makes a big difference because you're still dry. But take
Just
your
look at
point. It's a lot of money
Look at the
for,
picture, Chairman, of the flood. And
Yeah.
just reduce that by 6 inches and see what that looks like. It doesn't look much different.
gotcha.
You
I would-
said 6 inches, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Are you talking about 6 inches where the water comes up, or are you talking about 6 inches of depth? So I can tell you, when we were flooded. Oh my goodness, it was in like 81 or 82 in the lower trailer park. 6 inches would have made a humongous difference. The water came to the second step going into our house. 4 more inches, it would have gone in the front door. So 6 inches would have made, if you're talking depth, it would have made a big difference.
Well, maybe for one or two people, but I think just looking at the
Yeah, I
picture
don't know about the
of the village, I mean, it was all inundated.
yeah,
You know, it's,
How much water was in this building?
at least 6 inches.
There you go. So
I don't
it
think-
would have been closer. What about the fire department? Was that 4? I don't know. Maybe that would have saved.
I don't think they was quite 6 inches. I got here right after it started going down.
So if
I don't think there was 6 inches.
There
of water. I've got pictures of it.
So if there wasn't quite 6 inches of water in this building, and we could potentially reduce the elevation by 6 inches, would we not put the taxpayers in a better position in the future?
I guess it depends on how much money that the town has to spend on this whole thing.
So again, we could go after grant funding, and I also do wanna point out the fact that there's a lot of floodplain restoration potential projects in Johnson, in and around the village. So you really have to think about it collectively as well, not just like one site. So,
It has a cumulative effect.
exactly, it has a
Right.
cumulative effect, that's exactly.
Was that your comment, Peter?
Yep.
Okay. Greg?
How did the Holmes Meadow project drop water?
Not this much. This is more than that much.
So is it
A few inches.
2 or 3
Yeah.
inches?
And then also, more significant impacts on like ice jam type problems. So in an ice jam situation, it's more.
I could see we're cutting that corner off right there, it's gonna make a huge difference in ice cream.
And that's where we're really seeing the big difference. When you have one of these tight corners right downstream of a village, that's where we're seeing the ice jam. So that model doesn't quite give us a good number on that, but we're seeing that happening, so.
Yeah, cause I know we were working on the ice jam before, that's we were just sitting right up Rockwood where it says all the time before, I think, right? Or not really. And it was bound up right on that corner pretty much. And after that, it's pretty clear. So I could see an advantage to, if you stop an ice jam, you're gonna drop more than 6 inches. You know, so that's something to think about. I agree with Mike, you know, if you can't get fully funded. Then. You were hoping you guys can get out there and get all the money we need. And we can do it on cost town much and they save some costs.
You're speaking about ice jams, I mean, that was all cleared off nice. Now it's been planted full of trees. Once those trees get grown up, that was taken down, as I mentioned last meeting. For the ice sheets to go out into there. If you fill it full of trees, where are the ice sheets gonna go? It's just counterproductive to the whole process. It never should have been all those trees planted there. And then we've got a change order of 20 some odd $1,000 tonight for those stupid trees. Crazy.
Are you looking for a motion from the board on our preferred alternative to move forward?
I think that would be extremely helpful, just to make sure we're kind of going in the right direction. I think alternatively, we could use your individual feedback and try to use what direction we go in, with help from the planning commission.
Are there any other comments about the various alternatives from the board or the public?
Only thing I was gonna mention was, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's expanding where water can spread, but it's also slowing down the water. Cause right now it's like a straight shot and it's been dredged and like really deep, so it like moves very fast. So with this, it's slowing it down and also letting it spread out. So.
Sorry, comment?
Where did it get dredged?
When did it get dredged? I don't know. I don't have a
Yeah.
log.
Yeah, I don't think it's been dredged recently, but
Well, I mean, like historically, right? Hasn't,
Well, it's certainly deeper in the channel than it was on land, yeah.
We, has been altered. One of the main ways it's been altered is that the area across the river has been filled, with the, you know, all of that contaminated soil there brought up, so it eliminated any floodplain relief on the opposite side of the river, so, you know, by opening it up on this side, it is a way to kind of counteract that feeling that happened to what's not your part on the other side.
Go ahead.
Yeah, how much do you drop the soil? 4 feet, 5 feet, more than they did on the Holmes property? You like the more you
Let's
drop it,
see.
better off you're up. Yeah, once you go down, keep digging in it.
Let me look.
They have it in yardage. I'm gonna truck it up to Tom and pay him $1,500 a load. And what's that?
They're gonna keep continuing to dig grants and take the engineering front of it.
I'm ready to make a motion. So I'd say.
Yeah, let's see if we can get an answer to this question.
Looks like maybe even up to 10 feet.
Wow, 10 feet,
10-foot
7
10
acres.
boxes. Tapering out to a few feet towards that. It's a giant amount of fill and sediment and, you know, just material that would be moved. It's almost, it's 3 times the amount that came out of Colorado if you go with this alternative. Which
Wow,
makes
so-
a big difference.
So 10 feet on the riverside and then tapering to 2 or 3 feet on the uphill side. Okay, wow. Any other questions or comments? Greg,
The needle of best bang for the buck, #1. Gonna do something. And then you can always go further later on, if you want on. But you should start on one end and the other, usually you won't start on the low end. But that makes more sense. And I we might go over here on that, but I think those trees that we're expecting that, I think that they're probably not good idea also. But maybe put something else in there, a little old.
did I read correctly that that's a state requirement? And this is the trees,
We were not allowed to do the project without planting the trees. It's because that was an existing Act 250 permit. If it hadn't had an Act 250 permit, that requirement would not have been triggered. But we had no control over that. One thing that we have done is, if you notice the planting plan, the trees, a lot of the trees closest to the river are actually shrubs. They're not gonna be as tall of trees, so the ice will kind of go over those and get caught in them. We've seen that on other sites. There's a lot of alders and things kind of closest to the river. So it will create spaces in there. You know, the ice to.
So Act 250 put a wrench in the works again.
Act 250 has that as a requirement.
so if we were to recommend or approve going forward with a 30% design for option 4, alternative 4, that would preserve the option, as Greg suggested, of doing option 1 first. We'd have that kind of built into our planning.
You know, I think on our end, it feels reasonable to break it into 2 volumes and, you know, maybe designate like a phase 1 and phase 2, so that you could kind of look at it as one comprehensive project, or if you felt you really needed to reduce the area, and that seems very reasonable. Kind of do 4, but kind of break out 1 as maybe a first step.
But none of these grants are sure things.
Well, if I understand it correctly, the 30% is already in hand, so that design is already paid for. But then to go to the final design would be a new grant, and then construction would be yet another grant.
Still nothing.
So we're designing.
There'll be enough money to keep you guys busy.
We're just doing this, which we're already being paid to do, so I mean, we wanna do the best thing that we can for you with the money that you have at hand.
Well, we appreciate the work you've done on the modeling. That's been extremely helpful to look at and try to figure out our future with. So, did I hear you saying you're ready to make a motion?
Motion to move alternative 4 forward to a 30% design process. With an attempt to phase it as alternative 1. Phase 1, there's 4, phase
Four.
2.
Or A and B or something?
I'll second.
That clear enough? Like one?
Any further comments, discussion?
For the Westcombe Road flood restoration alternative.
Amendment accepted.
Amendment second.
Table.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay,
The ayes have it.
Well, we're not out here yet. We have a second part to the presentation here on the other location, looking at the downtown village area.
I'm gonna walk us through, the model we looked at here, and what we think might be a good plan moving forward. So coming out of our modeling that we did last year that we shared, well, there were a handful of spots that look promising, in our bigger model, coming from a bigger, higher level of analysis. And so we really focused on this lower Guyon section, from just upstream of Main Street, moving down to the confluence area, looking at all the potential lower lying, floodplain areas and some of the buyouts. So just to, kind of look at what we're seeing in the existing conditions right in town here. You see this, it's becomes a bit of a complicated, the Lamoille's flooding, Lamoille begins, kind of pushing back into town, and then when the Guyon's flooding, it's coming down and trying to get into the Lamoille. Those confluence areas can be really, really complicated, and a tough spot to really move the water out of. And what we saw a lot in modeling is that the Lamoille, as it reaches the higher floods, the big floods that we've seen in the recent years, that backwater effect moves all the way up to the Pearl Street Bridge at times, in the biggest floods. So just some context that as we're looking along the Guyon, we kind of have this sometimes fixed water surface elevation that we're going into downstream that can really dictate what lowering land here or there can produce some benefits. So a similar spaghetti map, as Joe called it, of all the places that we looked at on the lower Guyon. We started right near the confluence with some of the lower lying areas just upstream of the Lamoille as the Guyon's snaking around into the Lamoille. Then moving upstream, we looked at the Sterling Market property and what's labeled as the health center on River Left. It's actually owned the same parcel as the health center up near Main Street. And then we looked at the health center buyout parcel just downstream of Main Street, Main Street Bridge itself, and then the Union Bank property on the upstream side of Main Street. So we looked at kind of each of these individually, all of them cumulatively, and then different combinations. And what we were really seeing is that those properties down, closer to the Lamoille, because you're just kind of getting that bathtub effect. Lowering those properties, just you don't see a big difference. It's just compared to the scale of the flow in the Lamoille River, lowering those properties, we're not seeing a big difference. But we saw some promising results around the Main Street Bridge with the bridge itself, and then some of the floodplain possibilities on either side of it. So, after presenting our findings and getting some feedback from folks at the town and LCPC, we're kind of leaning towards alternative 5. So that includes a proposed dry bridge, we'll call it, under Main Street. So the existing Main Street bridge would remain as it is, but a second bridge opening would be constructed on the west side. So the kind of the Union Bank and Health Center side of the bridge. And so that would be a bridge opening equivalent to the existing one, but 364 days a year, it would be dry. There would be a channel going through the existing bridge, and then land would come up. And when there would be a big flood, then there'd be a place for those floodwaters to go, rather than backing up, which we see in our modeling that the Main Street Bridge does back up water on the Guyon, preventing it from getting to the Lamoille as efficiently. And then as a piece of that, there's kind of this opportunity of the health center property on the downstream side and the Union Bank property on the upstream side. And we see some benefits to just lowering those, making no change at Main Street. But when we combine, we see kind of the biggest benefit of lowering those properties to the maximum extent and then installing a new dry bridge under Main Street. So we have here a profile of the river. So we've kind of taken a cut down the center line of the river and looking at the water surface elevation as we move down Guyon. All the way on the left would be its confluence with the Lamoille River. And then moving upstream, you see the black box, that's the Main Street Bridge. And then the second black box, that's the Pearl Street Bridge. And so what we see is just kind of a lot of overlapping lines there. But just upstream of Main Street, during this flood condition that we're looking at, which was the 100-year flood, you see the water surface profile steps up. And so that tells us that, as we get to these larger floods, before it starts going over the road, it's really kind of backing up water and not allowing it to move downstream as efficiently. So the lowest line then, the kind of maroon line, is the water surface profile with this alternative. So we see up to a little over a foot of reduction upstream of Main Street that kind of travels all the way up towards Pearl Street, and then
I'm sorry, that's alternative 5.
that's right.
Okay.
And we're going to look at those numbers as well. So here we have the alternative shown. Alternative 1 was again everything, and then alternative 5 is what we're proposing here. And then alternative 8 was kind of a smaller version, looking at less floodplain restoration, along with installing the dry bridge. What you see is, when you look at those flood reductions of 1.2 feet upstream of the Main Street Bridge, and then as well continuing upstream on the Union Bank property, that's really coming from the dry bridge and opening up the where there's currently fill of the bank and the health center to allow water to move through the Main Street area more quickly. You don't see that, kind of as I was saying, alternative 1, as you move downstream, just to kind of look at the wastewater treatment plant, and then downstream of Main Street, as I was saying, we don't really see a lot of flood benefit from those floodplains. But we think it's pretty exciting finding, and a potential spot to really alleviate some of that flooding on the upstream side of Main Street.
Mr. Chairman,
Mike,
why aren't people talking about the bridge dam that's down by the Hogback Road? That right there, when all of us that can remember the old iron bridge that was there, was way, way, way high off the river. When the state replaced it, they brought it way down, close to the river. They got that huge I-beam that goes through there. The last flood we had, there was an actual dam down there. And if that bridge had been higher where it should have been, we might have been able to pick up this ½ inch that you were talking about during the first presentation, and the 1.2 feet that you're talking about here. Has anybody even looked into that bridge down there? Now, if that bridge was replaced or higher off the river, I think it would make a great big difference in the village.
You guys modeled that extensively, didn't you?
We did. Seeing the model, the field falls, like the constriction is actually further downstream.
Well, that was all blasted out years ago. There's all kinds of places for that water to go. You can't alleviate the fact that it was a dam there. The water was up on top of the steel during that last flood.
One
Yeah.
thing to add to that, when I was talking about the flood from 80, it was 81. The Iron Bridge was there, and the reason we flooded, and we were evacuated at 1 in the morning by the fire department. The reason it flooded was the ice had backed up at Ithiel, backed up to the bridge. The bridge was jammed. The Morrisville Bridge was also jammed.
I'm not talking about ice jams. I'm talking about this last flood we had in July was, there was no ice.
Right.
Okay, and that got dammed up then, just with regular water. Cause it was way up on.
Yeah.
So in your modeling, I was surprised to see that the changing that bridge down there had relatively little effect when you guys modeled it. Were you able to model that where the constriction was? Was it still back in Ithiel Falls even without ice?
Was false. So whatever flows were happening through there, the bridge didn't really make a big impact. Kind of like Doug was mentioning where we saw that step with the Main Street Bridge, which is a clear indication that there's constriction. You kind of see a flat surface through that area, I think.
You're talking about ice jams, you're talking about the July flood.
Normal flooding.
Well, good grief, the down there, the water on the upper side of that bridge was higher and the water was lower on the other side. It wasn't even steeping down through there.
She means on like the graph. Right?
Both sides are not even. It acted as a dam.
We are welcome to pull or present you back with that information or send it through John from the previous studies. You can see what's in there. I think for tonight, we're pretty excited about hearing your response to this.
You're great, thanks.
Sure.
Some of the residents down on Railroad Street on the west side, that Vine Bridge, are having large volumes of their yards swept away. I'm just wondering with these alternatives with that. Oh, that didn't sound that far.
This is probably not gonna change erosion patterns down by the roads.
And I'm not sure if it's quite outside of your scope of study, but to do some kind of improvement down on that section of the island where it feeds up the oil. Because there is massive amounts of land disappearing behind those thousands.
You know, one thing that we were seeing was there's a lot of riprap around this bend here, which is not helping you. Ideally, the river would be allowed to erode down in here if it needed to, so that it wasn't kind of pushing it this way. You know, if you can imagine, like if you put the river in one spot, it wants to push the water right. So I think that you're right, it's outside of our scope, we're not what we was looking there, but it is one thing we noticed, we did the river walk.
Where does the big phosphorus reduction come from in option 1?
So the phosphorus benefit is based on land area that's reconnected, where you'll get more flooding and more.
More settling.
Yeah, more, so it's just that it's a bigger area.
Okay. because it's pretty dramatic. I guess the acreage is very different too, so. Yeah, Diana.
Because I understand that the model didn't show an enormous improvement over with alternative one. But it could potentially cost less to do alternative one than the upper end of alternative 5. And so I don't understand what advantage there'd be economically, at least, to not model alternative 1 at this point.
And do it as a phased approach, so we have all of them included in it. I was struck by how similar all the numbers are too. I agree there. Is that,
Best bang for the buck, and then you could do a phase approach for
Right.
the implementation.
Mhm.
do you have any comments on the cost estimates as to why they're so similar?
So much of the cost is the bridge. And once you're all mobilized, and if you were doing it all at the same time and you've done all your permitting at the same time. The extra amount of digging is not a huge amount extra because you kind of piggybacked all of those things together, and the bridge is very, very expensive. So if you did start to separate these out into different projects, the cost estimate is gonna go significantly up. Like, if you did them all at once and you're all out there and you've done it at one big mobilization, it's true, you might get this number. But that's the big part of it, there's not a huge amount, there's significantly less cutting, in these lower areas too. I guess I could try to find the other table. Yeah, this may take a second also.
Is there harm in doing too much too fast at once, or, okay?
I guess what I would say is that alternative 5, this is kind of a comment similar to the other one. Alternative 5, you would have most of the control over. It's 2 buyout properties plus working in trans or hydraulics in one of their bridges. It's within your village area, so you already have quite a bit of control over your bridge anyway. But once you start to expand to alternative 1, you're now talking about multiple other private properties and everything that's going on in Sterling Market, which is more complicated than the other 2.
Mhm.
Doug?
I'm wondering if you're not looking at just that flood aspect of the one, I think I might prefer having Sterling Market be higher and not excavated for purposes of a park and usage.
Please.
Just further explain the phosphorus credit, so the higher number is more reduction of phosphorus into the river.
Question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm pretty happy that you've been looking at Eiffel Falls, because I've lived here for quite some time, and I do believe that's a big problem. And I also believe that that's all alleged in. So my theory is that ledge is worth money. Right, somebody could crush and process that ledge. And you probably could open that floodplain up a little enough. Now, I don't know who owns the land on it, I don't know if it's an Allen or Wood. I don't know, but anyway, but you can take those high ledge faces back. It really shouldn't cost a lot if you have somebody like me who thinks that worth something. So that's something to think about. Have you modeled chopping that, what side is the Route 15 side down?
We have not We have not, I don't think we did it. I think, but I think it warrants maybe some follow-up discussion with some of the rivers programs folks, and I mean, we're having a lot of conversations with them. I think it makes sense to maybe as like a next step, and I'll see, because he's working on continually on different flood options, so.
I know in 27, that's what Mike was referring to. They went down and they opened that channel a lot more. But obviously, we're getting more water more often now than we did then. So that seems to me like it's something we should be looking at.
That's good marketable ledge too.
Oh, yeah, you could probably get some, you could take that down for a little nothing.
Imagine somebody right in this room might do that.
So to Doug's point, with regard to the Sterling Market property, what does that do to your, if that were to be omitted from lowering? How does that change the numbers?
Well, that's kind of included in that alternative one, and I was kind of saying that we weren't seeing much benefit downstream of Main Street with those lowerings, so. I don't think that's. I think that's a totally viable plan for that area, we were talking about, there are other benefits, we talk about ecological benefits and such, but if it's an asset, then
Yeah,
Well,
it's
how much is being lowered in that area?
definitely a cross section, but it's not as much as we were looking at West Ham, but the order of 4 to 6 feet or so.
Maybe if it's just like sloping it, it might not be.
well, so Sterling Market is not included in 5 at all, correct? Okay, so it's just in 1.
What had left is that, 5 did not include the Sterling Market, which would,
Right.
south towards Better Park.
Or it could be tiered down towards the river and gain a little extra as a amphitheater type design.
I thought just based on this discussion, we should go back to this bigger table that includes the rest of them. So part of the reason that we were leaning towards 5 instead of 1, which is that the flood benefits are looking to be the same. Those other floodplains are on the lower side already, so it's not as much of a cut in there, and you're creating some disturbance. But in an area where the Mile is very much kind of a bathtub, it's not, we just weren't seeing a lot of benefit to those other ones downstream that were included in 1. I can get back to one that I'm looking at.
Isn't the land out behind the bank already pretty close to river level? I mean, it's pretty low out there, isn't it? Right out here?
It's not as low as it could be. It's steps down. It
Okay.
does step down, but it's
Yeah.
a pretty big flow to get onto it.
Okay,
We wanted it to flow about every other year, with the 2-year flood instead of what's now, I think it might be the 5 or 6, I don't remember exactly, but it's definitely higher than the natural low floodplains we're seeing around.
was there any conversation with the village regarding the utility poles out there? And that's kind of in your thinking?
Yeah, and I think there's a project going on underway right now to
Yeah.
work on stabilizing them. And, I think our concept design, we're gonna check back in with them and just make sure it's compatible.
I wouldn't think dropping it a couple of feet will help that project any, but maybe it would, some redesign. Okay, any other comments, questions? Diana?
At recent meeting with the village, there was a lot of people who, or no, there's at least one person who felt really strongly that dredging was the only alternative that should be considered. And I know back in the past, without all this modeling and data and fewer alternatives and less scientific knowledge, dredging was like the only thing that people did. And I just wonder, maybe, I don't know, like the 30-second explanation for why this kind of floodplain reduction where you remove ground beside the river should appeal to people who would otherwise
Remove it from within the
say,
river.
why aren't we just dredging? Why aren't we just dredging? Yeah, I mean, I know why, but I guess I wanted to capture that for the general public or for people who may not know why dredging isn't the alternative that they sometimes think that it is.
Okay, to the experts.
One thing, that we think about, and there's a lot of different reasons, we do spend a little bit of thought too, which make the modeling, to really understanding the rivers and why they move. But strictly from a volume and hydraulics perspective, if you look up at this screen here, we've got this cross section. This is where the water is and where the dredging would be. So you imagine, like, how deep could you possibly dredge, like 5 feet, something like that. So if you drop this down 5 feet, you're dropping it down to 5 feet of the diameter, which is what 30, 40 feet there. So now you've got a 5 foot deep by 40 foot deep trench. But contrast that with if you dig out the health center property, you just have a significantly larger amount of space that you've created. Instead of just going down over a narrow area, you're going down over a much wider area, so you're creating more volume that way. And then you also have the added benefit that when the water starts to fill up in here, get out from these areas, so instead of being stuck in a trench and going very fast, and it's like for a garden hose, now you're kind of spreading out that water over a wider area, so you're reducing the velocity as well. So it's kind of a two-part answer. And I think around the state, a lot of people have seen in the areas where there's been dredging, the river starts to kind of move around and kind of create erosion in different spots. So those are kind of the three things that I've heard. I've also heard people blame it on the fish. I actually don't think it is because the fish move. It's really about risk and how can we kind of reduce the velocities and kind of create more space in a way that's not going to just kind of fill back in the next time the river kind of carries dirt and rocks back down. We've seen spots that have been dredged and are, they might be fine for a little while, but they unfortunately like fill in the exact moment you really want that space. Because rivers do continue to like just move the sediment back in. So I think with the floodplains, it just takes a lot longer time for them to fill in and fill in kind of more slowly and more evenly rather than like a big plug of sediment coming down and like sitting right in your spot. We were hoping to have their movement. Maybe not the best answer, but excellent.
I just would encourage the select board when they make major investments like this in projects to accompany it with a kind of almost like a public education campaign. Justifying that, because that was such an excellent explanation, and I think the dredging advocates need to hear it. And I think it would make the expenditure of millions of dollars more palatable to more people if they understood the science behind it.
Good point. Thanks, Diana. Greg?
Couple of questions. One thing is, think taking some of the islands out of the river is the way to do it, not dredging. I like to use the word recycling, because you can recycle that material instead of dredging. People, when you say dredging, you think you're gonna start in Jeffersonville where the DH shoved the whole river down. That's not the intent. The intent is to go down by the bridge by Allen, by Johnson Farm and Garden, and take that island. So that it doesn't push the water into the dam, and then you got more sediments coming down. So I'm not an advocate of dredging rivers, but I am an advocate of taking some of the islands out. The other question I have is, how big is that brick dry bridge? Amazing.
It's the same as the existing bridge.
So it's about
70 feet. So
7 feet long.
70.
Now, if you look at box culverts instead of the bridge.
Yeah, this could be a really big box culvert.
Yeah, or two.
Yeah, or two, yeah, and that's certainly an option. Sometimes we call these overflow culverts, like Jeffersonville, we put it some big box culverts under 15. I guess one so far, but.
Might reduce your costs quite a bit.
And I think you're right, we did a box culvert in Brattleboro, basically exactly like this, kind of just an overflow next to the existing bridge as part of a project. Worked out really well.
Peter,
Big picture question. Looking at this big picture. Um. Is there any way to model? I guess going back to the cumulative idea of all of these different projects of lowering floodplains, et cetera. Any way to model out the impact that it would have on that kind of situation?
Yeah, we presented at the planning commission back in December. Maybe November, kind of right before the holidays. And basically showed exactly that. Like if we do West Home Road, we've already done Holmes Meadow, and we do something around the Sterling Market area, and we do the Vermont Studio Center. I think at that point, we also were looking at Ledway Road, where the town, I guess, has some stockpiling and stuff. So I mean, there were multiple ones that we looked at together, and yes, we did look at what that does, and it is cumulative, helpful. This picture's in here. We actually were wondering if you knew who T Maynard 413 is. We found this on the internet and we're pretty excited about this image and wanted to see. We're not sure who did it because we found it on the internet, but that was what it said. T Maynard 413. So I don't know if anyone knows that.
It's a drone shot.
what's Rob's wife's name?
The gauge on that is up to that. This is right out all.
Oh, yeah.
We have Maynards in town. It's probably, we could probably find it. Yeah,
No.
probably Deb Maynard.
No, it's the.
Yeah, his first name starts with C, but yeah,
Maybe put on front porch.
Oh, the combined alternative was 1.1 feet at the bridge, downstream of the bridge.
which bridge? The Main Street Bridge, okay.
That doesn't even make any sense. It says 1.2 feet downstream, or it's just alternative 5. This is as he's asking like all the footprint you looked at in Johnson. So 1.1 less than 1.2, but no, I'm not.
Downstream bridge.
Downstream bridge, where we're not looking much on that.
So I think, Mr. Chair, so, I think we're looking for something similar to the previous discussion.
Yeah.
Oh, here's the card, you.
Yeah, yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, I am.
I think you passed the torch.
Yes.
Yes.
I dropped it, ran.
Sometimes he's still.
Not far enough,
Here,
but-
he's not.
I try to encourage
Somebody make
him.
a motion.
I like to encourage him in that thinking.
Which alternative are people
5.
leaning towards?
Is what the recommended alternative.
Okay.
Try not to steal all the glory here.
What is it?
I motion to push forward alternative 5. With this one,
Second.
For the Main Street.
the
Bridge.
30% design.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there further conversation from the board or the public?
Just wondering, should we also look at the idea of culverts? That Greg suggested, like block culverts
Oh, yeah, that's
versus the.
bridge or box culvert.
Should definitely do that.
Yeah.
To take the load of the cost.
I've been saying that for years.
Yeah.
I do bridges all over the place.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Hi,
All those opposed?
Hey.
The ayes have it.
I
Thank
do have
you.
one more comment. Probably neither of these projects work, but, hybrid between dredging, reclaiming. Have you guys, studied like the Missisquoi and what Richford does on that steep bend? They call it a weir. Which is like a concrete channel that they put in and it's a dry 95% of the time or whatever. And sediment comes up This whole long story is they're able to reclaim it and crush it for their road gravel, so it's actually cheaper for the town in the long run. Maybe not private industry gets to reclaim it, but if there was a project in Johnson. That could pay forward for a lot of generations while reducing flood. I would like somebody to keep that in mind. I'll be dead next year, so somebody keep this going.
Ever the
Do
optimist.
you have
They
a
do-
premonition?
They do it right in Richford, Vermont. That's where all their, well, a lot of their road gravel comes from. I don't know if it's 100%. You can look it up on the map.
Well, thank you very much. That was very helpful. All right, and next item on our agenda is to discuss the Holmes Meadow update.
And we've got Tori Helwig from LCPC. Yes.
We need to plug back in.
It's crazy.
I actually called them, because I wanted that Hunts Metal project to turn out, but they wouldn't have to take it down.
Hey, Tori, can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, Tori, we're up to your agenda item, which is Holmes Meadow update.
Okay. Provided in the select board's meeting packet was change order number 5. Covering the last additional costs for consideration under the Holmes Meadow project. 2 specific requirements under the Act 250 permit that SLR had mentioned earlier in the previous agenda item are covered in this change order, and all of the expenses are eligible under the town's ARPA grant that are funding the project. These include treatment of invasive species to meet Act 250 permit requirements and additional plants that were larger in size and additional species that were required to meet the planting density as specified in the permit. The amount is $20,300.
And it's still covered by the grant.
Yep.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve change order 5 for the Holmes Meadow project.
$8,300.
Yes.
I'll second.
Authorizing who to sign.
Oh, John.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have a question. It says Restart is requesting a change order for tangible changes to the scope of the work on the Holmes Meadow project. These changes are largely due to delayed approval for ordering planting stock for the project, which resulted in a whole litany of problems here. So who delayed the approval on this?
Jessica, are you able to speak to that?
I am, so part of this, was seeking approvals from the Act 250 approvals, or like the people who made the decisions to approve the permit, which included the planting list. So when, Red Start came back to us and told us that they weren't able to get the stock that we had in our original planting plan, because it wasn't available in the nurseries. We had to have a whole back and forth multiple times with folks from the state.
Well, send the state the bill. They're the ones that held it up. This is a 5th change order with this company. They were the low bidder, but you add these 5 change orders and they certainly were not the low bidder anymore. I will not approve this.
Can I add something else?
Sure, please.
So the timing of the project also comes into play here too. This was a little out of cycle for when people are trying to like order nursery stock and get it lined up for their project. So you know, the fact that you're doing project kind of through the winter affected, you know, the availability that was not anticipated at the time of bidding, back in the fall. So, you know, I do think that this kind of off-season construction cycle to meet your grant deadline, is that make sure that the project actually happens, also factors into this, that, you know, the kind of shorter timeline off-season and then, you know, having that back and forth with the permit agencies when there were some changes.
But whoever bids these jobs, they got subcontractors that they're going out to. I mean, nobody's responsible for anything. It's like we have a blank check, we just feed these people more and more and more. I just don't get it. Nobody's responsible for anything, you know. We just keep paying it because we have a grant, that says we have the money and we can pay it. Where does it stop? Really?
We are spending a lot of money. There's no question about that. Other comments? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Hi.
All those opposed?
They,
All being on.
Okay, the ayes have it. Uh,
I do agree with you.
well, you
Is
should
there
have said,
any other update on that, Tori? Or is that the extent of it?
That was all for tonight.
Thank you,
Okay,
George.
thanks very much.
get on a job, expect it.
Thank you,
Yeah.
folks at SLR coming out.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was really helpful. Okay, we next have a report on the future of the Johnson's camp. That's not quite right. A report from our citizens who's headed the future of Vermont campuses symposium down at Goddard College a couple of weeks ago, and are generous enough with their time to come report to us. So thank you very much. Look forward to hearing from you.
Yeah, it's interesting to have this opportunity to go to the symposium. And it was held at Goddard College, which was an example of a college campus that was converted to other uses. Or which became in the process, being converted to other uses. And it's really important to say right up front that Johnson is not closing. People said that there were Johnson representatives there, they were not. ETS, Vermont State College representatives on the panels about college closings. It was all of the other colleges that are listed in that second group of people. So I think there's a couple of takeaways, and I sort of summed up what I thought were the most useful part of the conferences with a lot of input from everyone on the group of us who went. What's important is that colleges are not closing campus now, but it's important if Johnson values college to continually express our interest and be in communication with college so that as they find new uses for part of the campus that they're not using, that they're used for the benefit of the college or the benefit of the town, that they don't turn into something else that is destructive to the process of having an active and effective college on town. Because it's a state college, it will be, if it will close, a very different closure process than the private colleges. But I think what was interesting in a big picture kind of way is that many private colleges are closing for demographic and economic reasons in our country, and the biggest amount of closures are here in the Northeast, and it's in private colleges. And they leave big holes in the towns that lose their colleges. The towns lose the resource for what's going to college. Here in our town, people appreciate and use the shape facility. They go there and they have easy access to classes. And they also take their traditional students whose families earn less than $75,000 a year at young tuition. So that was a real asset to having this town here for us and being able to be in concert with them and find a way, which I think is a difficulty, to have ready and easy communication with them. So we know what's coming is very important. And so that's sort of the biggest takeaway is how can we see what's coming down the pipe, how can we manage our opportunities that happen because they're deaccessioning certain buildings or certain facilities or certain properties. And another portion of this panel, the third session, were about funding sources, and I think like the flood mitigation. You're solving a problem that is going to help the town economically, and it also helps the college and brings a benefit to the community. It makes it that if they're looking for funding for things to fund that solve these broader economic.
And benefit both parties. And benefit both parties. I mean, that's,
So, you know, if you have a recreation activity, but it also reduces flooding potential, it makes it a much stronger, at the state level, much stronger application for funding. And what was interesting, the very first panel were all of these not-for-profit state organizations like the Vermont Futures Project, the Agency of Commerce, Vermont Housing and Conservation. They all were very eager and saying, we're here and we're ready. I really had the impression that the demographic shift in the country, and particularly in Vermont, is a real issue, and they're looking for ways to solve it, and that making sure we maximize the use of these college assets is one of the ways they think that we're going to solve this problem.
has everybody seen the report that Kathy and I think Doug wrote together? Did you guys write one together? Is that what you sent to me, Kathy? Did that get to everybody?
Yeah.
Because I don't see it in our packet.
Yeah.
I just saw it by email. Did you all get it?
I was talking to John yesterday.
Okay, I just read it last night. Okay, so we'll make sure we send it out to everybody right after this.
Summary of the conference, and it was all the agencies and people who spoke. The middle part are the colleges actually, or the people and organizations that are actually trying to negotiate at the various colleges that have already closed. So, you know, that's like a peer group, but they're just informational resources as opposed to someone who is in organizations that are invested in helping us directly. And the third part was Northern Borders, Vermont League of Cities and Towns, and Vermont Community Company. And it was interesting, the Vermont League of Cities and Towns said very, very plainly, the select boards are not going to be solving this because have their own problems. It's sort of like everybody needs to sort of like all hands on deck.
Okay. Yeah. Doug, do you want to add to that?
I've given to John a memorandum that I had drawn up, because, you know, I have a lot of this was so much happy if they can, and if you could send that out too, that would be good. There was a 25-page essay essentially, or a theory by the former president of the college that focused on I think probably influenced by the nature of the college. They focused on the commons, you know, idea. Basically, you have high faculty costs, high infrastructure costs, and high you know, other costs of the college, and you have tuition based, and I don't think our state colleges are immune from the tuition based stuff, based on the dollars that come in from the state. But you know, we are better off now. I think that I was really impressed at this, but basically of the thought at this, that the agreement that everybody's in trouble, you know, of the colleges that are in trouble, it's tuition, which includes our state college system, and the colleges. The importance of them, as Kathy talked about at the beginning, was very, very clear, and the state wanted to be a player in that. And I think that, we had a committee coming out of the Reimagine Johnson who was, formed for the purpose of communicating. And the college was a silo, you know, you couldn't get to it, they couldn't get to it. I just had a message tonight from Jesse Whitworth that said he didn't think that, you know, that there had been communication, you know, from them. I think Paul had asked who the people, one of the primary organizers of that, who was coming, was there anybody coming from the Vermont State College system? And Michael Stevens was there along with one other person. Michael Stevens was the director of operations. And he was introduced, or somebody referred to him as the guy who's disposing of property of that. And I told him I deliberately sat across the table, the lunch table from him, talked to him about our campus, talked to him about what's his phone number, told him that Paul, you might hear from Paul. I think that you need to know, the colleges clearly need, my overall theory is the colleges need to downsize, they need to fit their expenses for their student population. We need them to continue that, it should be job one, keeping them here, help them downsize. We need to talk to them, we need to know what their plans are, and it was suggested that, that you folks invite the chancellor, you invite the president, you invite Michael Stevens to come into executive session if necessary, and talk about, well, what are your plans? What have you figured out what you're going to do? You know what's going to happen with the Johnson campus. And I asked him, I told him they were pitching the sale of McClellan Hall and the reboot of Martinetti. And I said, do you have any other buildings in addition to those that are not needed? He said, yes. You know, I think we need to know what they are. And that doesn't mean we know what to do with them, but I think you might ask them, what are they proposing? You know, you need to work with them. I think, you know, it might be that such a thing that in this country that we have people with these number of colleges closing, there might be people that specialize in retrofitting and bringing in Medtronics or bringing in something else to fill these spaces, because, you know, they're going to be downsized. And it shouldn't just be empty. It should be used and saved, and we should make a big point of doing that.
Yeah, we certainly want to be in the conversation.
Yeah, I would think that if we can, we should take a look at what property, what land they don't need. What are the, you know, what are they going to be, you know, and what can we use? It's developed, it's property with infrastructure on it in forms of buildings, water, sewer, and electricity, and we ought to check to see what that's available and where it could go. And it might be your, you know, it could be a hit maybe as a for development. It might be, it's a key, I think, to Johnson.
Diana, your summary made it to John in time to get into our packet, so everybody hopefully has seen that, but do you want to add to the comments we've already heard?
My main takeaway was that there's as many different models for repurposing a college campus as there were, you know,
People in the room.
representing at this symposium, and there are as many different takes as were in the audience. You know, there were so many of us there from so many different walks of life, and it was neat to cross paths with some of the resources we've already worked with, like the Northern Borders, who basically got us the work grant, right? And so I felt reassured that we're connected to some nice resources at regional and state levels.
Sarah Waring, the Northern Borders director, when I met her, I saw her, I said, oh yeah, we're doing the work. She said, we got you then. So, I mean, she was definitely taking credit, but they are aware, and I think they are thinking about it. So I'll put this on the front, it's a summary of what was there with the names of the people, if that would be interesting.
You already have it, John, right? Okay, so we'll send yours out and Doug's out tonight. Everybody has it.
On the back, you asked for a couple of action items. I think an obvious one is to communicate with the college, maybe set up a quarterly or semi-annual meeting with someone at a high level, because you can easily get into, you know, some office and then not get any information out if you don't have the right people. Dave Burge was at this event and very friendly and seemingly forthcoming.
But
Yeah,
he's
so.
into his last month.
Right.
He's down to his last month, yeah.
Yeah,
Thought of is that maybe want to develop, I know you get committees or extra committees, but this would seem to be an important enough thing to have a committee to gather information and contacts and contacts across the state to keep you up to date on what's going on at the college. We did hear at our meeting the other night that the post office is definitely moving into
Oh,
no, Marnetti.
Ideal Paul.
I have heard a lot.
I've heard that, but not from the post office, so.
Stop it.
post office was there? A
No,
representative?
I heard it from a college person.
Oh, okay.
In Martinetti or McClellan?
Marnetti.
Good.
And of course, the McClellan housing thing is out of the way. We also heard at this board meeting that it might be good to talk to either Dan Noyes or people at LZPC to see if we can make the college campus a village.
Right, part of the village designation extended up there. Yeah.
So that contracts at the college will not be held up by legislation, Act 250 kind of thing.
Permitting stuff.
Permitting.
Right,
I
right.
I think I mentioned this before, I had a conversation with Dan, who said that, and there was at this conference, the idea of, maybe colleges that are closing or on the brink should have should get a pass sort of from Act 250, so they should be designated. And when I mentioned that thought, whether it be zoning or Act 250, Dan said that if we had a downtown village designation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would take you partially out of Act 250 or out of it. And he thought that the negative comments about for rural towns on that 181 was absolutely wrong, at least for Johnson, because that would, what you could offer to the college, I would suggest you check with LCPC and their head and determine what we could do on a permitting basis that would make the conversion of some of the property into uses that are beneficial to our community easier.
Yeah, certainly tier 1A and B have definite, if you can get into that, have definite permitting advantages as far as Act 250. I think the negative comments were about tier 2 and 3, the 800-foot roads and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Which is totally separate from the zoning part, but.
Yeah, the road really kind of hollow.
Right, right. Okay, I think we kind of have to move on. Are there any comments you want, questions? Yeah, Peter.
Related to all of this, I had an email from Dave Berg inquiring as to whether the select board was still interested in talking about a Martinetti project. With the village not moving the sewage treatment plant, looks like we're here for the town. But I think they'd like to have an idea of whether we're interested in pursuing anything of that Martinetti project beyond town village offices.
Well, I think it's an opportunity to invite them to come and share what they're thinking, and maybe that's a pretty easy way to start their conversation at the right levels. John?
I've got a meeting set up with David Berg. We talked about as soon as he gets some openings on his calendar before he gets done, that he comes to Johnson, have a sit down.
Okay, well, I'd like to have him come meet with the board.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we can work that out. That'd be great. And he's done the end of July or end of June? End of June?
Okay, June 24th.
Okay, so next meeting. Okay. Thank you very much. Any other comments, questions? I really appreciate you guys going to that. Thank you very much. That's great and good information. And yeah, hopefully there's some resources we can draw on.
You might want to reach out to our representatives for current communication. You know, it sounds like we might have need it, but it's a really important.
Yeah, agreed.
My final observation would be that we don't necessarily have to wait until the college closes either to begin looking at some of the things that we'd like to focus on. For hope is that it doesn't close, right? And you know, it was so exciting to see these repurposed college campuses. But one of the things that was exciting about it was the communities that were able to be built around the closed campus. It allowed for things like mixed length and type of housing. You know, there was short-term housing, long-term housing. There was, it was things that community valued. And they were able to take their values and make use of the college campus to carry out their values. So at Goddard, where they had more of an arts focus, they were focused on theater and then inn and restaurant. Here, we have this logical tie-in with recreation, you know, and so we could pick a focus value as a town that mattered to us, and we can start working toward that even before the college closes.
Oh, absolutely.
That's kind of exciting.
Stop saying the college closes.
Saying it doesn't mean.
I know, I know.
To start making forward progress.
No, absolutely not.
Values and.
When the students are gone, we could still be living on campus in the summer, and they'll come back in the fall.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you all. And the additional comments. All right, we're a little behind schedule here, folks. But our next item is the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail update.
Okay, the railroad company is working on replacing the existing map, which shows the rail trail as being 17 miles long. It's quite large on this 4x6 or 3x6 or something like that. It's very large. At the Welcome Center. At the Welcome Center. But right now we have the 17-mile map on it. And it was suggested at our last meeting that what we would like to, that we take the Discover Johnson pamphlets. Are you folks familiar with that?
Yes.
We don't have to show them to you. That we have Charles Flom attempt to blow them up, both sides of them. And then, we take off the map that's there, this summer until our next map, which is the whole purpose of the next map, is to show our downtown and get people into the community. It's not a rail trail map, it's a map of the village and perhaps some surrounding areas.
It would be a copy of what's in that brochure.
Yeah, we're trying,
Yeah.
you know, and there's some questions on it, you know, we have I think we're asking you to approve letting us proceed with this, spend money up to what we have available in our budget and get the graphics done, and so we can put a map up there to a display of one or both sides of this and a inventory of the Tuesday night, listing the Tuesday night live and the Blueberry Festival dates. And so that would go onto the Ted Alexander Welcome Center, where that is right now until our next map is ready. So we're saying, you know, trust us, say as long as you don't spend more money than you have, we're okay with it. And if you like it. So we're looking for.
Just curious, did we approve what's on there now?
What?
That's Discover
Yes.
Johnson.
Oh, what's currently.
Yeah, what's currently on? No, not to, just the money, but not the design.
750.
And you have the money.
Here.
I'm all for it. A map of Johnson makes perfect sense. We need to guide people this way, not move them on their way down the road.
Place we
Right.
know of where they are.
Right. And where we want them to go.
Yeah, the difference, this is a temporary stand-in, you know, it's beautiful, he thinks it can be blown up and, you know, Be a draw.
I would send it to Great Big Graphics because some of those images may be too low res to have like at a larger scale. I don't know though.
It's all up to you, way beyond my.
Do you hear a motion?
You're saying great big graphics. Gosh.
Well, whoever you choose as the printer, that's who's in Johnson.
Yep.
This is grant money.
This is grant money you already have.
We got $20,000 from the Community Foundation, and we can spend it now, some of that, but we still have that.
What's a number for a motion?
Less than what they have in their kitty.
First.
Less than what they have in their kitty.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I wanted, but I did give you an estimate of $750. I don't know what it's gonna
Do
be.
you want to include the, let's include the other that.
I would just say motions are not to exceed the current budget.
It's one hand if I don't have. But that's a trust the spot.
So basically, the motion should say the Discover Johnson blow up will be replaced by a map that the rail trail and Discover Johnson is working on, highlighting the village attractions, etc., and it'd be available to be used for other locations, provided you do not expend the over what you have in your budget.
The
Perfect motion, Michael. Thank you.
existing map of the rail trail will be replaced by the Discover Johnson blow.
Well, that's what I thought I said.
Will it have the Discover Johnson logo on it? Or are you doing like, is that being edited at all?
We're going to, it says Discover Johnson Recreation at the crossroads of everywhere.
Okay.
Did you make a motion, Mike?
Yeah, I did.
Huh?
Second.
Instead of revamping, we're just gonna use that.
Mhm.
Because it's temporary.
I said the motion should be this, but I will take it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other comments, questions?
Motion.
Mike made the motion.
Mike made the motion.
So who seconded those?
Peter.
Comments, questions?
Mike,
Kim.
can you reread the first sentence, because it sounded like you had flipped it, where we are actually.
Well, I just read the sentence, it was actually in our email. And it said the Discovery Johnson blow up will be replaced by a map that the rail trail and Discovery Johnson is working on.
That's phase two. Phase one is to replace the map that's there now.
It's there. Discovery
Yes,
Blow.
yes,
Then that would be replaced.
right,
by
that's basically what the sentence said.
What
I
is
thought,
design.
Okay, so we're all clear. We're gonna replace the map of the rail trail that's there currently with the Discover Johnson thing, which will then subsequently be replaced with a new map still in evolution.
Wait, what map?
You serious? Okay,
So does this
All those-
motion include that you're authorizing the expenditure up to a certain amount or just?
Did not to exceed what they have.
not to exceed the budget.
Not to exceed.
Okay, we have a motion. I think it's clear. We have a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it.
But the second item that I have is at a prior meeting of the select board, there was thoughts that we ought to undertake to do whatever steps you can do right now to make the railroad street as accessible as possible to get traffic in. We ran into some issues that correspond with Jackie Casino where V-Trans is redoing its standards for how you lay out, how you map or mark crossings, so the rail crossings on Railroad Street. So she's and then we wanted to have 8 lines that down the sidewalk. Okay, what got suggested at the last meeting is that, and it was suggested at the last meeting of the LCPC counties committee, was that we apply to local motion. Local motion has about $30,000 that they receive, and they're going to send out an application like applications on, June 5th. And they said, make a decision by the end of June for, she said we should apply for a demonstration project. And basically, we could ask local motion that we submit when the applications come out, the select board would ask local motion to do a design from the trail crossing to Railroad Street, for purposes of improving access, visibility, and getting people into the village and access. So trying to get at what we were looking at before through a demonstration process of bringing in local motion, which is a pretty big organization. And I have here, this is a was part of the slideshow that they did at the county committee, and it's kind of what they will do for communities. They would be very good people. Richard Amora, who is the head of it, or one of the departments of it. I talked to him, and he would like. Oh, did I not know?
Yeah, send that.
So he would like to participate. If we make this application, we should ask that that local motion comes and participate in our recreational economy for rural communities meetings on August 27th and August 20th. Very good organizations live in our situation to work with in the future.
So a demonstration project would be a design, or would it be,
Designed from the rail trail.
which then hopefully V-Trans would bless?
Yeah, and Jackie said that if we get this, and I really suspect we will, but no guarantees, Jackie said she would then bring out her design team as part of that, which she wasn't willing to do.
Right, which she said no to earlier. Well, that sounds great. Can we move that you pursue this?
Yeah. Our community hasn't dealt with this because this is, you had one, this is something the select board, wanted.
Well,
we would like to get this.
And they said, and then the V-Trans said no to us. Yeah. Okay. Can I hear motion?
They have our blessing.
Yeah.
Doesn't cost anything.
Yeah, I don't know.
Doesn't cost anything, right?
No.
I don't know that we really need a motion. Just consensus of the
no-brainer.
board is to pursue it.
Yeah.
Go for it.
All right.
Thank you very much, Doug.
Thanks, Doug.
All right. Item 9 down. Item 10, interlocal assessor agreement, review and consider vote. Evan, run with it.
No, go ahead. Please.
I motion to approve the interlocal agreement for town assessor services. As presented, authorizing Mr. Chairperson, Paul Warden,
Whoever that is.
to sign both the interlocal agreement and attachment A.
Second.
Okay, now that it's in for further discussion, we're
Any
supposed,
further discussion?
to get. Not the touch base for Justin, we're supposed to get it from all the other towns signed, and you should sign the same copy. It's all the exact same verbiage. But it's
Yeah,
not like
yeah.
all 5 towns signed different copies, and Rosemary has to hold 5 different copies. Is there one that's, no? If not, you can sign this one.
So do we want to have Paul sign our copy and maybe Justin could take it to the other towns and?
The other towns are supposed to have it approved in May. But I'll touch base with Justin. You can sign this copy. It's just a pain for Rosemary to have 5 copies. Right?
So there are literally 5 other on here, okay?
Yeah. It's down on Hyde Park, Johnston, St.
So-
George, Berkshire, and Chelmsford.
Being that the assessor is our employee, as this was written, we probably ought to be the last to sign it, so we know everybody else is on board. I would think.
Have. Via the motion, authority to sign whichever copy as long as verbiage is same.
Got it. Okay,
I can check the trust file.
okay, we have a motion, we have a second, any further discussion, questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. You'll chase down Justin tomorrow and communicate?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Well done moving that along. Select board notification and approval for grant pursuit. Okay, this came up because of conversation of notification of grants and how do we approve that? How do we, what kind of a process do we want to use? We have a draft policy that's been sent around. Are there any comments, concerns, questions about that? The attempt was to make some sort of communication inherent in the process, but not bog things down, which hopefully this accomplishes that.
I think this was really helpful
Uh,
and will be helpful.
I think the only thing I neglected to put in here that I meant to was under scope where it applies to all town committees, boards, departments. We should say task forces and I don't know what other groups, but you know, any and all.
I think we should keep it to towns, committees, boards, departments.
Well, if a task force is applying for a grant that the town has to be fiscal agent for, we want to know about it, don't we?
I don't think the town should be a fiscal agent for private entities.
Well, task force aren't private entities. They're
They're not town committees.
not. Not
They're town
not
formed.
businesses, they're. I see your point, but
I mean, we did deny a task force,
right,
right?
but
Right?
I don't necessarily agree we should have, but that did happen.
And mostly it was just a pass through. It wasn't even applying for a grant or anything. We just needed a fiduciary agent to receive the money and hold it for us while we, and you know, then we were gonna spend within that budget.
I think task force should be included if they're town formed.
Should we just open the door to anybody and everybody?
No, I said town formed. Didn't say Joe Schmo down the street.
So select board approve tax forces.
Yeah, if you add it that way.
Does that work for you?
We didn't approve them.
We did with,
Well, we sort of
I
did.
mean,
because
we
plus
we
remade
had
Johnson.
Reimagine Johnson, right? But going into that, we supported the event, and I'm not even trying to talk negatively here. We didn't pick any of the forum. I believe select board members at the time didn't even speak during because we wanted information from the
Well, we
people.
could-
But it's not like we decided these are the tasks, who wants to jump on board. It was more independently, you know, maybe. Well, what would have happened if we would have come out with a snowmobile task force and an ATV task force? I don't know, another constitutional right.
well, we've been
You know,
retroactive.
If we were getting a lot of pressure from other sides of the public because they weren't happy with those, not that I'm getting any pressure, I just don't see the point.
We can retroactively approve task force and take it to a vote.
Well, I'm looking at it that if we had we might not want. We've talked about other projects coming up. We talked about, you know, the low lecture hall. We talked about, you know, a variety of things we might want to appoint task forces for to work on. And those are the ones I'm thinking we want covered under here. And I think we,
Go all in the other direction and say. Not, but the problem is inconsistency, approving some and not approving others. That's where the unfairness lies.
Yeah.
And you could say, we're just not gonna do outside funded things, we don't do organizations, clubs, private businesses, community efforts outside of select board activities. I mean, I'm not in favor of that, but I'd rather have you go all in that way than to pick and choose, yes, this one, no, that, because that's not fair.
well,
I'm I'm comfortable with select board appointed task forces. Adding that,
So we would then have to appoint task forces if we wanted to do so.
yeah,
And they'd have to be willing to follow open meeting law,
No, not a task force.
you know?
No.
So a public committee or task force doesn't need to follow. open meeting
Committee
law?
does, but it,
Committee does, but a task force
task
doesn't.
force doesn't.
No, not under the law.
That was pretty
Yeah.
clear under,
So they'd be appointed by a
Reimagine
governing
Johnson.
body. And they'd be doing a task, they wouldn't have to be open to the public.
No.
I'm gonna have to think about that.
yeah, I guess we have to
Well,
look into that a little bit because you're raising a good point. It was pretty clear under Reimagine Johnson that they did not have to follow open meeting law, but they weren't select board appointed at the time. Yes,
My question was around, if the task force is going to have a budget, it's going to be going through the town system. Then it would seem appropriate that they follow the open meeting law.
That's a good point.
if they're successful in getting a grant, yeah, agreed.
Let me give the definition of the task force. How's that? The task force is a temporary goal-oriented group assembled to address a specific task or problem, often combining expertise from multiple areas or organizations. So, you know, originated in the Navy, actually, the word task force. The goal-oriented, the temporary, cross-functional, have authority and resources, reporting and accountability.
So maybe we leave the wording just as it is, and if a task force comes up with an appropriate grant, we would just have to run it through a committee.
Well, they could,
Yes,
they
that's the
could
best
go
way to
With
do
that,
it.
for funds, but they can't make decisions about the fund. They could bring money in for us, but they can't make decisions about the funds.
well,
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the Town of Johnson Policy Committee notifications and approval for grant pursuits as written.
as written without task forces.
Scott, that's not a question.
My apologies, Scott, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was on a few task force with the state, they were appointed by the state. And we followed open meeting law rules. So. You might be good to clarify that.
Yeah.
Before you say it is or it's not. Both attachment.
Well, my motion
Yeah,
doesn't
thank you.
even
I
talk
think
about
that
task
Yeah,
forces.
I'm not
So,
making.
Okay. We have a motion and a second.
Further discussion?
The motion is to approve it as written without task forces. Any further comments, questions?
I'm gonna vote against it.
For those of us who don't have it written in front of us, what is included? Like, would you do a pass-through grant for a nonprofit? Would you do a pass-through grant
The
for?
scope simply says applies to all town committees, boards, and departments pursuing external funding. Blah, 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 on behalf of the town. So
all
it's,
non-department?
so it's town committees, town boards. town
boy, I guess
departments.
was you didn't want a task force, huh? I took it out.
Anybody else
So as I
would have
read,
to come request it.
and ultimately we'd have to run that through a committee if we were gonna be a fiscal agent. I would think.
Sure. We've done that before. For clarification, the reason I'm voting against it is just because you had it as written. I think under exemptions. There should be something about no major changes to infrastructure or town property.
The
That's
vote
why I'm
happened.
voting against it, not because. The other reason.
So for
Well,
those
you
of you who
bring
don't
up a
have
good point, board member, you could, if it's voted down, you could get that added.
well, how about a friendly amendment?
I could do that.
So for those of you who don't have it in front of you, and I apologize, under exemptions and streamlined approvals, we have town administrator or select board chair or vice chair may authorize streamlined notification for small grants under $5,000 with no match or future obligation, routine programmatic grants already approved for in the annual budget, or renewals of previously approved grants with unchanged terms. And you're suggesting we add,
Something to the effect of no. Major changes to infrastructure
these are
or town
exemptions.
property. Yeah, I know. So. You would be exempt and streamlined. If you weren't making big change to town property. Is that a double negative?
Sort of,
I don't think that anybody solely should be able to approve a grant that's under $5,000 if it changes the nature of town property. It's not
okay, well,
general.
under early notification requirement, item 1, as committees must notify the select board before applying for grants that require matching funds, in-kind contributions, or staff time commitments. That's number 1. Creates new or ongoing financial or operational obligations, involves infrastructure, capital projects, or property changes. Commits the town to partnerships, contracts.
It
or
is,
plans.
I just see it in the future, somebody's gonna read exempt, they're gonna say, well, we're under 5,000, give me approval.
But if
And
it
it's
involves
redundant.
property changes or capital, then
Sure.
they're not, it requires notification. You don't think that covers it?
Just call it on the solo, it's fine.
Well, I want to make sure we're not missing something. If you really think we're missing something, then.
I just
wanna
feel
hold
like
it.
a lot of times people read the blurb that they want. It's less than 5,000 approve it,
So an exemption, we'd have to put in, you said, it's sort of a double negative. It says
or a redundancy.
can't,
At the end with the exception of. Things with infrastructure.
I think the board's gonna approve it as is, Paul. Maybe we don't complicate this as move forward.
well, then why the hell did you bring it up? No, I'm sensitive to what you're trying to put out there.
On the solo one?
Okay, so we have a motion and a second.
And no,
As of yet, we have no amendments. We have another comment. Adrian.
Well, I'd like to have a task force for the Julian Scott House and for the lecture hall or Old Town Hall or whatever. I don't want a permanent committee for those to be formed and then for them to be able to go after funds. So we're kind of creating not being able to create task force then. That's what I feel like is happening.
I mean,
I think we can, we can still create a task force and have them search out funds and find something they want to apply for. And then we have to do that through select board approval or through one of our committees. But the task force can still meet, they can still brainstorm ideas, they can still research funding opportunities. They just can't go after them.
select board can create a task force anytime.
No, I'm not saying we can't create task force. I'm saying they can't go after funds, though.
The way this is written, that's correct. John, comment?
Well, what if we,
So what's the point of them?
following up with Adrian's comments, create a task force, create a committee to look into the Julian Scott House, create a committee to look into the little lecture hall. And then once those projects have been completed, then the select board could just vote to disband the committee because.
That's a
the work
task
was done.
force, though. That's that's the definition of a task force I'm hearing.
we've created limited term committees several times in the past, right? Pearl Street Bridge was one. Once the project was done, it was done. The railroad or the rail trail committee is a limited term committee. They were created, ideally, they're supposed to work themselves out of.
Well, maybe if you guys would have made them a task force, then they'd feel more temporary.
Charlie?
You can call it whatever we want, but we wanted a task force to look at it. But I didn't want to. And we were told that since it was doing town business, you had to comply with open meeting law. So your task force is whatever you want to call it. You have to comply with open meeting law.
I believe we did that with the sheriff's department.
I don't know, I don't know that you follow the law, because you often don't. But that's the law.
Yeah, Evan.
They have to.
All law.
follow the meeting.
You just call this motion.
Okay, so we have a motion and second to approve it as written. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Okay, I vote in favor, so the ayes have it.
Put a lockstep right there.
So there's only one person opposed, right?
Me and Evan.
Oh, Adrian
Two.
was also
It was
opposed.
two.
Okay.
Okay, next item is poster on trees on Main Street. Discussion, Mike, I believe this is your idea.
Yes, everybody has a picture here. I've seen the picture before. That's this picture.
Sure.
Nobody
Put
can
that
see
here.
it.
Screen.
Well,
I guess that means I don't have to put it on the screen.
I think these posts around the trees in the village are a nuisance. I think they're a safety hazard. I think people have actually leaned on them and fallen over. And I don't know. We're responsible for these, correct? Even though they are in the village, it's under the purview of the select board.
how?
If I might say something,
Go ahead.
and we appeared before the select board to discuss this, you said it was village project, you and I discussed.
Yes, and we acted as a pass-through, so they are owned by the village. We acted as a pass-through. We received grant funds. And sent them to the village. We do not own them. Right.
Had every intention of discussing it. It didn't.
We're still under they're still under the responsibility, actually, of the town.
Why? Why are they under our responsibility?
We don't own them. Why are they ours?
Well. Then the village has to do something about it then.
Okay, go to their meeting.
Yeah, well, I still thought that we had something to do with it.
I'm asking, I don't know who has jurisdiction over them, but it sounds to me like if we were simply a fiscal agent for their grant. That it's their money, their project, their ownership.
It's the town tree board that is taking care of the trees. That under the village's 1111 permit for the Main Street project, they're required to maintain. The grates were owned by the village, the town got a grant and expended the money to the village to replace the grates with the posts, we do not own.
So is there anything in that agreement about maintenance? Like who paints them or?
In the 1111 permit, I don't know, who posts, nothing that I recall. Bollards.
Sounds like a joint meeting item to me, like Kim?
I just wanted to put my 2 cents forward in that I like the posts that I don't think they look too bad and that they help protect the trees.
Okay.
Well, I have a couple of things to say about that. When I'm at work, I have elderly people that open their door. And dent it, okay? And then the 2 posts right next to the curb. They grab a hold of them. But there's nothing you can just, they wobble. People fall. Seen it? I see it every day I go to work. It's not safe. There's nothing holding them. Well, any normal person, and with all due respect. When you're walking with a walker or a cane and looking for something stable, this is something that looks stable to grab onto.
The original plan was to fill them with concrete. Which was going to be done by the road crew. We've been paid for it. But we wouldn't let it happen, so I don't know what to say. We spent $15,000.
Really? And also the top caps have fallen off. You can just. put them off.
Have you brought that to the village at all?
The last time I had a conversation with the village, okay, it was to do with a handicap parking spot that's never plowed. And I was informed it's winter in Vermont, so it's like talking to a brick wall. Okay, and the person almost fell backwards into the highway in front of the 18-wheeler. And I have a video of that. So, are we making it safe or not?
Evidently, this board is not gonna.
Well, it sounds to me like we don't know who has jurisdiction over them, so I think that's what we need to clear up first, because I don't know that we have authority to do anything with them. If we do, that's one thing, then we need to decide. If we don't, then we need to talk to village about it, so I think.
When I was part of the Main Street project. And the purpose of those grates around those trees was also to hold the red brick sidewalk. That's now falling apart.
Sidewalk was on.
It's falling apart right here, and those little brackets that were sticking in there were holding all of this together at one time. I watched it go in.
No. Those little brackets sat inside of the concrete lid, inside those edges, which is still there. They didn't change the surrounding wall. Now the village is upset because they wanted us to put curbing in there. The cost to ship curbing from Barry. The cost just for shipping was more than the entire project. There was no. That's really funny. Could it be worked out that the cement still get put into that, or do they think say just point this to right here? I don't want to find out. But I don't. Maybe they'll actually get out.
I mean, I'm just pointing it out. I want people that we're supposed to deal with. The dented car thing, like if you pull in with your. With your Corvette that you just bought and open the car door. I mean,
But I don't think that's the postable. I think that's like when I open my car door and I hit something, it's my fault that
it's right in the dead center of the parking spot.
people, folks, who do not think so.
Well, look
I've
at the
opened my
picture,
door into them,
look at the
and
picture.
I'm concerned that it uses the number of parking spots where they're already, isn't enough. And I'm all for protecting the trees and me too, and this is not like, right, totally appreciate what the tree board does. We have to come, I think we totally need to come up with a whole different, something different has to happen there. And it's the driver's side's fine, cause you walk out into traffic. But sitting in the car doesn't even see the post there until the door hits it.
Yeah, I think we all understand the,
It's like a trap waiting to happen to surprise people.
I think we all understand the issue, and if it's okay with you, I'm gonna punt this to our joint meeting with the village, because we don't even know who's got responsibility or jurisdiction or whatever you want to call it for these things. So let's establish that, and then we can try to figure out what the solution is. Is
Yeah,
that okay with everybody?
sorry.
Um,
Well, I'd like to point out that the tree board did a great job getting the grant and the money and the funds to put this in. I think our system at hand with village, town separation is the cause of this mess.
Yes.
So,
How do you figure that?
because we paid for them, but we can't do anything about them because the village now own them.
It would be interesting for me to find out, usually when litigation happens, they go after everybody. So even if the town is just a pass-through for this, I wonder if attorneys would find the town culpable in some respects for somebody's injuries.
Maybe, I don't know,
So,
it's a mess having two
this
separate
needs to be taken care of.
municipalities. I agree, Mike.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? I'm gonna move this along. Architect's invoice, review and consider vote. If you recall, we voted last meeting, but didn't have sufficient people attending.
What's this?
Do we need to recap that? John, can you run us
Yeah,
through that?
basically,
quickly?
I reached out to the Vermont League of Cities and Towns. And the question was, we had four board members present. Two board members voted in favor, one was opposed and one abstained. So we had a 2-to-1 majority. Vermont League of Cities and Towns, that in order to pass the motion, we had to have a majority of the board seats. So seeing as we have a 5-member board, we needed 3 people to vote in favor to move that motion forward.
Right, perfect, thank you. So the motion previously was to approve the architect's invoice that we previously put a hold on while we were talking about the cut through for utilities into the library addition.
Am I free to make a motion again?
You are free to make the same motion again.
Yeah, I would move that we pay that invoice from the architect. And I will wax eloquently about why, if there's a second.
Is there a second?
Did you second?
Yeah.
I don't know who seconded it last time, did I? Okay, I'll second it again. Happy to. Further discussion?
Okay, we had uh way back at the beginning, when we put out an RFP for the foundation for the original building, we approved an RFP that went out with no cut. And now we're dunning the architect for a mistake that I don't believe he's responsible for. And if anybody's responsible, we share the responsibility because we approved the RFP. But I think it really stinks that we're not paying the architect for services rendered in good faith. So that's it.
And we had a discussion about this last meeting, except you weren't here to participate in that, so.
Yeah, I gotta go.
You want to weigh in and?
I mean, I recall we withheld them because we needed some information. We have provided information. And I think we're chasing pennies when we're spending dollars when we only have a dime.
You're not stepping over a nickel, stepping over a 20 to pick up a nickel. This is $8,800.
I understand that, and we're stepping over a nickel here, trying to get.
Oh, you're stepping over a 20, pick up a nickel.
We're trying to get the architect to eat the expense. When we selected a contractor, it was $100,000.
They've already received $140,000, sorry.
Well, the fact that we approved a drawing that he then went with does, in my mind, shift at least some of the responsibility back to us. So I
think
in favor of paying the invoice.
Think about, Mr. Chairman, this is going nowhere. It's gonna pass.
Comment, Greg?
Yeah, I think we should put Mike in the same room with him. But he didn't.
Yeah.
See what he comes out with, because I do think he could save you a little money, he sure did on the other one.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I don't think that you should have done that.
Well.
Oh, good grief.
That
Unbelievable.
Nice. I live in this town, so, you know, good.
wasn't,
He's a working negotiator.
he is,
Yeah.
but it wasn't the company's mistake.
Yeah. But they didn't ask. Yeah.
Somebody,
Call the question, Mr. Chairman.
somebody told their
Okay, we
employees.
did the same conversation. Scott, new information?
Just a little confused because, no offense, but you know, you're all lay people for this kind of work. The architect is a professional person, and for them not to catch that. Really? How can you not catch that?
I don't,
As a builder, as an architect, how can you not see that there's a flaw and not bring it to your attention? I don't get it.
Exactly, Scott. He was working in concert with the engineer.
I don't get it.
Well,
Yeah, well,
apparently there was a conversation somewhere along the line and his answer was to be cut out later. For whatever reason that we don't know because we weren't there for that conversation, but that's what was reported to us. So that's where we are. We have a motion, we have a second. Any further comments from the board? All those in favor, if you say aye?
I,
Aye.
All those opposed?
nay.
Okay, we have.
Abstain.
The ayes have it, 3-1 with one abstention.
We're just not on the same.
Okay, Summer Blueberry Festival. John, you want to leave this one up for us and explain?
Yeah, I got a request from the Summer Blueberry Festival. It says, good morning. I'm writing in regard to having a hand-built, human-powered boat race on the Gihon as part of the upcoming Blueberry Festival on August 1st. The plan, teams will build rafts or boats, decorate them in a funny blueberry theme, and float them from the Pearl Street Bridge to the Arboretum or Jesus Beach, or Bill Perkins Flat Beach, but his permission has not yet been sought. Life jackets, proper footwear, a whistle, and a signed waiver would be required, and all would hear a safety speech. The water will likely be very low at this time, so portage might be in order. Prices will be given for the fastest and silliest boats, maybe the slowest. Fun will be the point. If we could get 4 or 5 entities, that would be sufficient for a festival event. If not hand-built, we could do decorated canoes and kayaks, but that would not build community, would be as silly as teams on a project would do. Do you have any objections? So I reached out to Vermont League of Cities and Towns, and it says, I'm assuming the Blueberry Festival Committee is not a town committee. If not, this gets trickier. For your PACIF coverage to apply, it would really need to be a town event rather than just sponsored by the town. Financial assistance is not enough of a qualifying factor. The town would need to be organizing, supervising the event, and anyone working it would either need to be a town employee or town volunteer working under the town's direction. Essentially, the town would need to have organizational control and risk management over the event. If you're strictly providing funding, the committee would need their own coverage. If the committee is not a town committee and organizing, operating this on their own, we don't have the means of covering them under the PACIF. They would need to investigate separate coverage with an agent or consider getting a tulip policy for the day. I'm checking to see if this would be an eligible event for the tulip policy. And that's from Kelly Nottech, the underwriter of Vermont League of Cities and Towns.
The way I read this, the tree board is having a make your own boat race on August 1st.
No.
It's the part of the Blueberry Festival.
I don't think you understand what I'm saying. I would like a town committee to be involved in it,
Well,
heading off the boat portion.
the tree board. Well, I understand what they're saying, but in other words, the entire Blueberry Festival would not be insured. Because Discover Johnson is not a town.
No, they came to us and I believe we did.
It was a letter of support for a grant,
There is.
letter of support for a grant. That became last. So we didn't sponsor them, just a letter of support for a grant.
We're gonna have to look back at the minutes, because John and I, or Evan and I talked about this afternoon about whether they have insurance for, we approved the use of Legion Field for those dates. But whether I don't think we talked about insurance or about them being on town insurance, but I'm not positive of that. So we're gonna have to go back and check the minutes. Because if now having this information, yeah, that means we can't cover them unless we turn it into a town event.
They're doing it in conjunction with the Tuesday Night Live.
Yeah, Tuesday Night Live would basically have to take it over.
How did Johnson Works used to do it? The town used. Sure. Johnson Works used to get their own. I thought the town
For
covered it.
years they didn't until Meredith came. And Brian Story came, and then all of a sudden it was an issue. For years, it was fine.
Well, it's fine because we didn't know better, probably, because we didn't know until we got this information. So I'm suspecting that.
The other issue, I guess my concern is, we can say we're gonna cover it. But I mean, if there is an issue that requires the insurance policy, will the insurance policy cover it?
Yeah, no, if we're gonna cover it, then we really have to kind of
Right.
reformulate it and comply with what's written here. Otherwise,
I mean, we'd have to have,
putting the town at risk. and we can't do
right,
that.
we'd have to have member appointed by the board working on this race. And they'd have to supervise it, they'd have to be part of it. So if it was the tree board or another committee, they'd have to commit to having people on the river on that day, putting that together.
This is where the town events.
Mhm.
Where's the $1,500 that used to be? It used to be $1,500 for events like this.
We spent that on the select boards for tree.
You did.
Thank you.
But there used to be a $1,500. Johnson, we applied for it all the time. There was a parade fund. Where's that?
Okay, we're talking about insurance right now.
I know,
So it's,
I could supplement the insurance policy to help a community event.
well, what he's saying here is they don't have a way to do it. Do you know what this tulip is? I'm not familiar with the tulip policies. Did he explain what that is?
I think it'd be like a day policy
Mhm.
with a rider to cover
Yeah.
the event.
Okay, so we could find out what that would Well,
No, the Jubilee gets one, it's $150.
say again, sorry.
The Jubilee gets one. For the Village Green.
We got a tulip policy.
$150.
That's fine. Turn it over.
So what's the board's pleasure? How do we need more information to make a decision here? Do we need to investigate the tulip policy?
To invite Discover Johnson. I thought that they'd be here tonight, but.
Yeah,
Who thought that up anyway?
We've had these requests for years, right? Carrie Ferrara did some events. And we let her do them in conjunction with town committees.
yeah, they went with Halloween, thing. Same thing.
Same deal, we covered it.
Well, that knowledge is a dangerous
And
thing. Diana?
Would a possibility be for not just a town committee to do it, but I'm thinking use it as a fundraising opportunity for the Johnson Fire Department Water Rescue Team? You know, they seem like they'd be well qualified to, like that, they could call it training. You know, and I know you don't speak for the village, but it might be something to consider as, other groups that could help alleviate this, I don't know, issue of what is a town committee versus what's a bunch of people wanting to try to help.
Yeah,
You know?
right. Well, it's a shame that roadblocks like this pop up in the way of things like that, because that's exactly what we want, right? It's everybody to get empowered and do stuff.
Yeah.
What if the request was for the tree board to have a? Really wish you
It's
didn't
easier
question
just
me on that, Susan.
Sometimes easier to ask forgiveness than permission.
Huh?
But if someone gets hurt, then putting the town at risk.
Yeah.
Okay, let's revisit it at our next meeting. I think we got a homework to do. So you can talk to the tree board about it. We need to talk to Johnson, Discover Johnson, to see what their insurance deal is. Because it sounds great to say we're gonna cover it, but we cannot put the town at risk. So we can't be exposed unless we know we have insurance. We just can't do that.
Yeah. This is so weird.
Well, what a great idea. And let's make Johnson fun.
I'll get right on that.
I'll build one with Mike.
And that'll be on.
But somebody can decorate.
Mine will be a submarine.
Okay, next item is Julian Scott House follow-up.
So I did reach out to Representative Dan Noyes. And he sent me a note, just to give a quick update, I reached out to Colonel Ziegler of the Vermont Guard to let him know about the Julian Scott House and asked him to help us with contacts and potential funding streams that he might be able to run down. I've emailed with Hope at the Studio Center to give her an update and to keep her in the loop. She has good contacts. I've also connected with David Schultz, the curator of the State House. He'll be reaching out to his contacts to give an update and raise awareness on Vermont's Art World Talk soon. So, I mean, I think with the last meeting, I think we got, quite a bit of momentum going. So I guess the next thing I was wondering is, what's the board feel would be our next move?
So anything further? Dan was gonna update the state preservation officer and so forth.
Yeah.
Have you heard, has he done that? Have you
I
heard
haven't
anything
heard
back
back.
from him? Okay. And is Mike gonna send you that list of possible art funding agencies, or who's he gonna give that to?
I don't know. I can reach out to him.
Okay, that would be great.
Because I wasn't at the last meeting, was the list that Duncan and Doug prepared sent to the state.
The questions now.
Pardon me?
The questions that Duncan wanted to ask.
I think Doug worked with you.
Yeah, Doug and I can basically ask it during the meeting
Yeah.
to Stephanie. And I think Dan was gonna take it back to
So it went to a higher power.
preservation officer, whose name I can't remember right now.
Szynski, Greg Szynski.
Hmm?
Greg Szynski.
I forgot, I don't know, but,
I feel like this needs,
a task force.
yes,
I-
yes, beyond what we can do in select board meetings. It feels like there needs to be a group of people pursuing possible funding leads. We've been given an extension of time in which to work. But the question is, who's going to do the work?
Limited term committee.
What's the buyout record?
What's that?
What's the buyout?
Buyout figure?
400.
424,000.
424,000? That's what FEMA's gonna pay him?
No, that's what they already spent.
That's everything, house demo.
If we were, so they've spent that much on buying the property, doing the legal work, doing the title search, whatever else they do. If we were to cancel the FEMA buyout, we'd have to pay them back. That's what they're saying, $424,000, and then we could try going down some other road, which obviously is not realistic. And we told them that in no uncertain terms, but Stephanie, who was here, is not part of that. She's not part of the money end of it. So
So if the folks that own the house, they're not getting paid that much. So
they're getting paid some portion of that. I don't know what.
They've already been paid, right?
Yeah, the check's been written.
Oh, they've already been.
Already been paid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 months ago, 3 months ago.
That complicates. If they hadn't been paid, they'll offer whatever, but we're gonna get paid.
It's only about 50,000 less.
Well, that would have been fair to them because
It's a lot
that would
less.
have stuck a wrench in the works on a buyout that everybody else is getting.
What? They got 360, so I guess it's 70.
They got 360 for that house.
2 acres of land though. What?
Or 70 or
Right.
80.
So the crux of the matter at the last meeting was basically that the FEMA indicated that the property was eligible for the National Historic Register. State Preservation Officer concurred, but somehow the buyout went down the regular buyout process, not the Historic Preservation Avenue, which includes remediation options and whatnot. And the explanation we got last meeting, it was not clear at all how that happened. And Doug and Duncan's letter went into addressing that as, were these appropriate steps followed? It appears from where I'm sitting that the answer is no, but that's not the answer we heard. So it's hard to know a little bit. Yes, sir.
I'm surprised that the town doesn't want to invest in something too puzzle. Just.
Well, we don't necessarily. We want somebody else to invest in it, to either elevate it or move it or do something to preserve the memory of Julie Scott, not in the flood zone, though. You're right. Absolutely. Can't do that.
What's the cost of moving?
It shouldn't be moved, it should just be raised right where it is. Just increase the height of the foundation, just like somebody did on Route 15.
I wonder, they'll look at 400 and some thousand, it's gonna cost them. And it probably costs about 35 to 40 to demo that thing. But why wouldn't they just like to move the house for 35 to 40,000?
Where are you gonna move it to?
Move it somewhere. But it's a hell of a lot less than 450,000. Oh. See what I'm saying?
I don't know.
Cheaper to put a foundation under it than it would be to move it.
But you still gotta pay 450,000.
No matter what, you still have to pay it anyway.
Well, that money's already been spent. So if we move it or elevate it, that money's got to come from somewhere else. That's either new grant or the town ponies up the money or somebody.
Should think about it. If you move it. It saves FEMA the demolition.
They should give it to
They should give it to you if you're gonna move it.
Well,
You've already made a contract with the
same thing.
demo company.
Yeah, same thing with elevating it, right? I mean, it was,
It's gotta go. It's gotta get off. FEMA gets the ground without the house.
well, No, we get the ground. FEMA doesn't.
Well, they turn it over to you when they're done demolishing the house.
Right.
They're gonna get rid of the house one way or another,
Well,
Soon they
maybe.
okay? They're gonna hire a contractor for $35,000 to demolish the house.
It's already been hired.
They've already signed that contract. That's part of the
Already
issue. But
Okay,
Been paid for.
Of course, it's all part of the deal.
the demolition contractor has been paid before he's done the work, I doubt it.
no, he hasn't been paid, but
He has
they
a
do have a-
contract to tear it down.
they do
It's
have
such and such a time to do.
It's certainly a good point that
Read
we
the
can
contract if he
explore.
doesn't get paid.
Okay.
Or a task force. should-
Charlie's got
If you
the floor.
move- Then FEMA's job is done.
Mhm. It's certainly a point we can raise with them and see if there's any room there. They have granted us a open-ended window, so to speak, for the moment, to figure out some options. So this is certainly one we could explore.
I think we need help on the topic, so we need to form a task force. I'd like to make a motion that the select board establish the Julian Scott House Task Force and as an advisory body of the select board, charged with investigating and pursuing alternatives to demolition of Julian Scott FEMA buyout property.
Wait a second.
I'll second.
Now we have to create task force because we approved something earlier with no task force in it.
Well,
So you
They would
you just appoint a committee,
They're
temporary committee.
They're advisory only.
they're advisory and as of this, they can't go after grants, but they can identify grants and identify options.
Yeah.
Any further discussion on that? I think we have beat this around pretty well.
Just the question of how we're gonna populate the committee.
John can post on Front Porch Forum and on social medias
No, a couple people that are really interested.
and send an email to people that have come before, talk about the topic.
And the select board with good points.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if a task force, it's not members, so I think it could be as many people as want to be on it, and I don't think we have to appoint them,
Now, there's a number of people
but I could be wrong, maybe.
in the state of Vermont who would like to be involved in this. You're not gonna limit it to Johnson residents,
I'm not limiting it to just Johnson
Okay.
residents.
so you can have anybody to be on.
I think so. Let's have John investigate the rules around task force.
Yeah. I know people in the state who would like to be on it.
Yeah, it's bigger than Johnson.
Yeah.
We want to make this a state issue, not a Johnson issue.
Hmm.
Okay, do you feel like we need to wait for task force rules and regulations before we do this?
I don't
I
think,
just say subject to whatever.
yeah, subject to the rules.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I
Those opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Thank you. All right,
was gonna vote.
we are moving right along, not really. Committees and task force conversation, how about that?
We already had something like that, move on.
Can we?
Adrian asked me to add this to the agenda, and I think she had.
Well, I kind of thought this conversation,
Lecture.
yeah, I thought that the Julian Scott one would flow into this one. So it did kind of, but I also think we should create a Old Town Hall task force as well.
I can't disagree. I would kind of like to find out what the rules are in task forces rather than committee. Creating a bunch and then turning them into committees or whatever.
Okay, you can wait.
Is that all right?
Yeah,
I think probably it'd be good for all of us to come up with a list of
I
things.
think we
we
should have
might
a
need.
select board meeting there.
Well, we should come up with a list of things we need help with. So Julian Scott, lecture hall, what else, college, what else?
oh,
Yeah.
you want a college task force?
No, not necessarily, but
Oh,
we need something. Okay, so we're tabling that for the moment. we are on to item 17, which is reduced planning commission seats. This stemmed from the vote we had last week, where we didn't have a majority voting in favor. Planning commissioners is faced with the same situation where they have vacant seats. John?
Yeah, so the question was, what do we need to do to reduce the number of seats from 9 to 7? I reached out to the Vermont League of Cities and Towns. I spoke with staff attorney Carl Andier, and he said in this case, the select board can vote, make it a resolution, and pass a motion to reduce the size from a 9-member board to a 7-member board. In this way, the quorum will be 4 members. The question was, the planning commission, are they appointed or are they elected? Because if they were elected, it would take a town meeting vote. If they're appointed by the select board, then the select board can vote to adjust the size of the board.
And they are appointed, so we can do that.
Has the planning commission weighed in on that question?
You guys, Jesse and I have discussed it. And have you guys discussed it in the meeting, Charlie?
But out of the meeting on canvas,
Okay. I mean, it makes perfect sense. So you kind of,
and we do have some perspective. You can always make it bigger again.
yeah.
Good point.
We have people competing for seats. That'd be awesome.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to reduce the size of the planning commission from a 9-member board to a 7-member board.
Second.
Awesome. Further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Noise ordinance waiver requests.
Mr. Paul, I make a motion to approve the
Please
noise
do.
ordinance waiver request for the Multnomah County Field Days. Dates of the event, 7/17/26, 7/18/26, Friday and Saturday.
I thought it used to be a 3-day deal.
I'll second that.
Only going past 10 PM on Friday and Saturday. They close at noon on Sunday.
Okay.
We don't do anything special.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Who's the second?
Who has a clean copy to sign?
Just signed one. All those opposed? I mean, all those in favor? Sorry.
Aye.
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 All those
Aye.
opposed? All right, thank you. Guys have it. Next item, traffic speed issues. This wasn't me, John, by the way.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, recently my wife and I, were going toward, Dollar General.
They can sign it. Ask them.
There was almost a pileup there. There has been numerous pileups, since, Dollar General has been put up down there. And I think it all has to do with the speed limit because, by the old Holmes house, the speed limit goes to 50. Going toward Jet. So I think people accelerate. And then all of a sudden, somebody decides they're gonna go into Dollar General or the pot shop, and next thing you know, they stop. Kind of dead in the road, they throw their blinker on and they stop because there's oncoming traffic. Next thing you know, there's a rear end going on there. So when that speed study was done years ago, those two entities were not there. I think that what we need to do is petition the state or whatever they do to go about this for a speed study in that area. And I would make the suggestion that possibly the speed limit should stay 35 miles an hour get towards Jet beyond the pot shop and then probably turn to 50 near the bridge or somewhere down there. Or it even could go further than, Johnson Farm and Garden, really. They're very busy there. There's all those kinds of traffic going in and out of there too. So I don't know. I think we should at least talk about Dollar General and the pot shop. And maybe the farm and garden will be something for a different time.
So in the past, we petitioned V-Trans to.
Yeah, I think that's the route.
Speed study.
Yeah, I got a note from Jennifer Sargent. She lives on Hogback. And she mentioned her concern that the speed of traffic with people pulling in and pulling out of Hogback. And she wrote to V-Trans, and V-Trans responded that the Vermont Agency of Transportation does not regulate or set speed limits on state highways. That authority is granted by state statute to the Vermont Traffic Committee, a three-member committee comprised of the Secretary of Transportation, Commissioner of Motor Vehicles, and the Commissioner of Public Safety, based on an engineering study performed by VTrans. The Vermont Traffic Committee does not take requests to change speed limits from individuals, but does accept requests from governing bodies of local municipalities. A town's governing body, typically the select board, may request a change in speed limit on a state highway by writing a letter to the VTrans state traffic engineer, who is the staff coordinator for the committee. More information is available on our webpage.
I think we need to look into that, Mr. Chairman.
Comments? On board?
I'm in favor.
No.
I'd like to see the other side reduced sooner up too.
Where's that?
On the side coming in by the general store.
Yep.
I think both sides are just too fast coming in.
We should just make it 30 all the way to Cambridge, people could enjoy
You
the
don't
view.
see a sign till like right,
Lull people
yeah,
down.
until you're right there.
They'll stop at more businesses. Apparently the pot shop's really popular according to Mike.
Who surely visits.
I'll get right on that one too, I'll tell you.
Odd, right?
Okay, did I hear a motion?
So a motion for a petition?
Yes,
Yes.
I've kind of brought up for discussion, but I will make the motion, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion? Any from the floor? John?
What area are we looking at particularly? We got coming into town, we got Dollar
Well, Mike's
General
motion was
and the
going out
pot shop.
on the west side.
And then we got
General Pot Shop, and
this
maybe
is Sergeant by.
and even look at Johnson Farm Yard.
Well, both are coming into town on Route 15.
Yeah.
From either side.
West Settlement Road. And
Okay, West Settlement in?
yeah,
So is the area gonna be part of the motion?
and you want it to be 40 sooner or
What?
25 sooner?
Well, it's
I don't
35.
know the specific number, but on the
I think the
side,
motion,
35.
Scott, comment?
Yeah, I do have a comment. My wife totaled the car under a concrete truck, on that side of town. Morning sun comes up and truck pulled out, fully loaded, doing about 10 miles an hour. This is when the road was 50. She petitioned state, I think the select board then also petitioned state lawmakers, petitioned state. Insurance company in that corner, including gravel pit. All put their efforts in to get that speed reduced to 35 if possible. Basically, state with their candor said not enough people had died. Or been traumatized in bad accidents. It fell outside the quota. And with a little bit more lawmaker push, like this is getting stupid. They agreed to lower it to 40. So, that was 20 years ago, probably.
That was on the first coming in from the east.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's always been a.
Rosemary.
People pass, the same, but this happened long road. When you petition the state, you can get data from the fire department, from the sheriff's department, state police, sometimes it's crashes, but then there's one today.
Where was it, Scott?
Heading toward pot shop.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It was,
There was a fatal last fall down there.
Right.
that's during the road construction.
So it would be. It might be quicker. If you had all that data packaged when you petition the state.
Well, I called the sheriff up when I was doing a little research on this, and he said that the state can pull up that data with a stroke of a keyboard.
But they weren't.
Yeah, but he said they can do it within seconds if they want to find it. So I think times have changed. I think people are more cognizant of safety issues, don't you?
No.
Really? Well, I'm a little more optimistic. I think that.
I live out by Bethel, so I saw people from 16 miles an hour.
And they're looking at their.
And they're looking at their phone, right?
Right, but still.
Looking at the. Do I have hope in where I feel like they're safer now?
Well, I think we'll give the powers that be in Montpelier the benefit of the doubt on this one. And we'll run this petition to them and see how forthcoming they are. I'm very optimistic. I think things will travel quickly.
Listen to Mike, will you? It's the optimist for state action. Like,
No, I think in some things, the state is more interested in taking care of than others. I think that Act 250, I don't think is maybe, they don't have enough people with all the work they'll have to do. That's why one of the reasons probably nothing seems to get done. Ever.
okay, so we have a motion and a
Did
second.
you guys clarify exactly what's in the motion with regard to the area that you're gonna petition?
The motion is to petition the state to have a traffic study on Route 15 coming into Johnson from both sides.
Why does there need to be a study? Can't we just request for a lower?
From Prospect Road in.
Does it have to be a study?
I think it has to be.
And that would
I don't know, good
incorporate,
question.
Johnson Farm and Garden and all the other businesses down there to with the 35 mile an hour. Speed limit.
How about
West Settlement, oh, yes, what I said,
You said Prospect.
Prospect, right, West Settlement.
And how about on the other side? Do you want to specify exactly where that starts?
From uncommon accommodations,
Oh, I was gonna say,
That's way up.
Mike's driveway.
Mike's driveway,
Yeah,
Easy Street.
yeah, Easy Street's fine, Easy Street, yeah.
Yeah.
Percy,
Mhm.
isn't there? Yeah, Percy's.
The sand pit,
Yeah.
essentially.
So you wanna.
Or actually, if you really wanna push it, people
Slow down.
come like crazy up to the
That's
hill,
native
like
there.
like
That's
Collins
native,
Hill.
that up there.
And sometimes you have to shoot out into the road because somebody's coming like 60, 70 miles an hour up that hill. So,
So I don't know the mechanics of this. Does anybody, do we need to have a traffic study done or can we just request change speed limits? And then if they say you need a traffic study.
I think they have to do a traffic study or some dumb thing. Really,
Yeah, I don't think they teach them without a.
I don't think they can.
But we can.
That is the fall with the state. They gotta jump through all of these hoops,
Sure.
but
Okay, so we have a motion and a second.
What was the consensus on where it's starting on the west side of town?
The Nazarene
I mean, the
Church.
east side of town.
yeah, why not? Nazarene Church.
I go about a mile farther every
We're in
time.
Maine.
So I can't even tell if you guys are serious or joking.
No, it's true.
Are you agreeing with that?
I would say by the Percy sand pit. That's where I would say.
They're only gonna lower it 5 miles an hour if they do anything.
It's
40
40
there,
there, right? 40 through there anyway.
Well, it should be 35 and then lowered more a little bit up. It should like gradually go down.
It does.
So one of the comments was the driveway to uncommon accommodations.
Yeah, that was one, and Percy's Sandpit was another, and I think that there have been 2 or 3 others, some of those.
I was at the Vermont Flannel Company.
Well, if you go at the Nazarene Church, you slow people down coming up the Prospect Hill there, coming toward the village.
Yeah, well, don't be looking at me, I'm not deciding, you guys have to decide.
No, but you were looking for an area.
Yeah,
so
well,
it's just tell
you guys.
Yeah.
agree on it.
Just tell
It's
us,
the study area versus the actual.
they're gonna study it anyway,
Right, so let's, do we agree on the Nazarene Church? That's an easily
Sure.
applicable thing.
from the Nazarene Church.
Melody Lane.
Okay.
I just agree.
West Selling or not?
Yeah,
I'm done.
basically.
Okay.
Diana,
Changing the speed limit's only half the equation.
Yeah.
Catching and
I know.
enforcing is the other half.
Absolutely.
right,
And it doesn't even matter what the speed limit is unless we have law enforcement that enforces it. Exactly. So as part of the study, I would request that you get data on how many people are actually speeding in that area. How many fatalities, I mean, I assume it's all included in the study anyway.
I would,
No,
so,
We've got to know what the enforcement angle on this is.
agreed.
Roger's gonna want.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and I think we beat the subject to death.
Yep.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Hi,
Me.
Opposed? Nice have it. Okay, next item, consider tax sale. We have in our packet the information from James Barlow we've used previously for tax sales and his terms and so forth. And this was discussed briefly last meeting. And there was a concern that the rates are pretty high. The estimated fees are between 960 and 1140 per parcel. plus a demand letter, which is $75. So basically $1,000 to $1,200, give or take, per parcel.
Mr. Chairman, it also says these estimates are not guarantees. The time may vary.
Right.
Significant deviations appears likely. It will consult you before incurring additional fees. If we go with this attorney, and we were hoping, I think last meeting, that we were gonna find another attorney that would work cheaper, but I guess we're not going to. I would move that we would strike a couple of these properties, because even there's gonna be almost a wash on them. I think we should cut out the 2122 one and the 1896 one. And go with a few and just kind of stick with the higher ones. Because those, we're just gonna be kind of spinning our wheels on those. We're gonna be just about breaking even, so what's the sense of doing that?
What's the sense of going?
Rosemary, comment?
Yes. I would suggest that we send a demand letter to all of
Everybody.
these people. Then we can decide if we want to do an after tax sale if they have not paid.
Okay. All right,
Thank you.
I agree to that, all right.
Okay, extensions board, we good with that?
This is like a sham. Now you're incentivized to pay your taxes as long as you don't owe us enough where we wanna really go
Well,
after you
Well, it
here.
kind of gets into what's the goal,
I
right?
mean,
Yeah.
the goal is to get the taxpayers' money to the taxpayers, even.
Yeah.
That's right, but what's the sense?
But-
All you're doing is enriching somebody else.
Or encouraging everybody not to pay up
And
that
then
amount.
by the time you pay the fees, you break even. What good is that?
Okay, well, we've
You can
agreed,
let them go look at
okay.
them laundering like a
let's
couple of years
let's
down the
move
road.
on. We've agreed to send a demand letter and then revisit the question.
Motion to,
Next item is Town of Johnson resolution for northern borders.
wait, did you have approval to sign in Rosemary?
Do you have any?
I was gonna authorize to approve, authorizing you and Rosemary to sign. I don't think you need authorization, you're at
Well, we're not agreeing to this. We're simply agreeing to send a tax letter out, right?
Yeah,
We're not agreeing to any sales at this point.
but we have to agree to that.
So
You
we
have to
don't,
agree to it.
I
You can't
agree that
attorney.
we're gonna pay him something to send the letters.
Right,
right, but we're not agreeing to any sales. We need to make that clear.
Right.
That's not the way this is.
Your point.
he says my fee for mailing each demand letter is $75.
Okay.
If you proceed with the tax sale, I will bill the town an hourly rate of $150
Right,
an
plus
hour.
It
cost.
does say under Vermont law, you have to offer an opportunity for payment plan, et cetera. So, okay. All right, so Evan, go ahead with your motion, please.
To elect to proceed with a tax sale. You don't have to.
Anybody watching this meeting, hopefully they know that they don't have to.
There's at least one person on this list already.
Okay. Evan, did you have a
They've
motion?
already paid? Oh, cool.
I already had one.
Well, repeat it so we can get a second, please.
A good copy.
Motion
It was a
to,
good copy for, sign.
motion to approve. Tax sale agreement with James Barlow. Authorizing Rosemary and Paul to sign on behalf of the town. Delinquent tax.
Second,
Second,
any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, ayes have it.
To get them there also. That would include who's village cars.
That was part of your motion too, right, Evan?
I'm sure it was. I think I heard him say that.
I didn't even hear what you said.
Sign the letter in the addendum. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Several times.
All right, my apologies for jumping ahead. All right, next item now is Town of Johnson resolution for the northern borders. Discussion, consider vote.
Yeah, so I got this from Carl Rogers. He's working with Northern Borders and he started working on some drawdowns for the work we've done for the industrial park. And what he noticed is on the original documents, Eben was signed on as chair. So he put forth this resolution authorizing the Paul to be able to sign Northern Board's documents as the chair.
I will.
Or
so
Adrian?
move.
What's that?
Or is Adrian just like the attester?
She's attesting.
Oh, okay. Motion to approve the resolution for the Northern Borders Grant.
Second,
Second.
good job. All those in favor, please say yes.
What
There's the
discussion,
question.
Mr.
Discussion,
Chairman?
I beg your pardon.
Good neighbor, drive out there. Every day. When are they gonna get moving on? They're cutting that off up in there by the Jewett property, nothing happened.
Our CEDS is working with the engineering firm on bid documents, so we're gonna go out to bid and then select a bidder
The people that are cutting the trees are still working on that.
on that.
Carl is working with the contractor. He gave him a 2-week extension to get the work done.
No, they were in there a month and a half ago, 3 days, and they were gone 2 weeks. They came back for 3 or 4 days, and they've been gone 2 weeks again. Somebody ought to wait them up. For that project's gonna cost us a lot more than we planned.
No, we have a contract.
Okay, noted, thank you.
Contract for everything.
Yeah,
Okay.
contract with them. With the logger, we have
Yeah.
a signed contract with them.
How about the bids coming out in Cooch? We wait 2 years, it's gonna cost a lot more.
Oh, it's not gonna take that long. He'll be,
Good point, we'll make sure Carl's on it and they're moving, so, because it has sort of stalled.
It's all that.
Next item, town and village shared assets. In your packet, you have information that Adrian gathered. Sources unknown. Me,
Minutes and knowledge. Yeah, but that's-
or there, so far we have the municipal building, the mill house / garages. 180 acres Landway Lane, backhoe, skid steer, maybe, maybe not, village truck, maybe, maybe not.
By the village,
Are we,
they're both owned by the village.
village, okay,
The skid steer and the village truck.
Solely owned by the
oh, yeah,
village, yeah.
the village truck would be.
that would make sense.
I see.
Well, what'd you say about the skid steer before? I thought.
I said that there are times when they horse trade things.
Oh, okay.
So next is the computer server and IT system here. Office staff, that's, we've now separated, so that's not really,
Says currently separating.
yeah. Fire department, why is that on here?
Oh. I don't know it.
It's Holy Village.
Same with sewer department.
Those got on accident, sorry.
There are customers outside the village, but still, emergency cell phone, we share a phone with them?
The
Mhm.
village pays, it's village phone, but we agreed to pay for half of it.
The town has been paying for half of that.
Yeah.
And storm drains, which is disputed, which we know. Are there other shared assets we're missing from this list that ultimately we should be discussed with the village?
I mean,
Can I give,
Yeah, please.
the point of this was to determine what things we want to keep sharing and not keep sharing before we have a joint meeting with them. So that's why,
So we need to identify the full list first.
yeah, I know, I'm just,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay,
before we launch in.
okay, thank you. Yeah, context is always good. So we're missing any currently jointly owned assets.
We just gotta just start discussing now what we think we need to.
I mean,
Well, let's make sure we get a list first. Are
like
we missing any
we
assets?
solely own the salt shed, right? It's just on shared property.
Technically, the ones on top of it.
So we own half of the smokehouse.
Yeah, all the village, oh yeah, I guess garages are on here, but like the
Yeah, it
cold
says-
storage.
Yeah, it's like the cold storage, what we used to call the leaning tower. Which is like super cold storage, is that windy storage? But we have an MOU about all these buildings.
Oh,
The smokehouse and all house should be listed on here.
Yeah, the smokehouse and the salt shed are on that,
okay.
I guess. It's way too nitty gritty to get down to the generator, our charging station. Crap, those are just part of it.
Anything else people can think of?
Is the generator here?
Yeah. Over when you come in the parking lot.
I was talking about the one up at Old Mill House.
Oh,
Yeah.
What about the ones in the parking lot? Do you join me on that?
The fire department on that?
Village bought it.
Village bought, yeah.
They're part of our contribution to this book. That's
Yeah.
Because it does have this building too.
So what
The
just came,
parking lot here is really weird, whatever.
Peter?
what just came off? Skid steer and village truck.
yeah, those are just
Fire department,
village.
sewer,
Fire department and
And
sewer
fire
department.
department.
emergency cell phone.
Okay.
Rosemary,
So this is a
something
sum
else.
total of our shared assets. I thought it was more than this, but I can't put my finger on what's missing.
I think it's it. It's because it's buildings and buildings are so expensive.
Yeah.
Buildings and contents.
Yeah, you could just put buildings and contents.
Mm.
Although like the wide format printer in here, that's happening with Hyde Park, not with Village.
That clears things right up.
Okay. There's a lot of swearing out this window right now.
So as
Somebody's in
we,
the parking lot, very unpleased with us apparently.
But is that,
A lot of swearing, Mike. All text.
are there items on this list that we think we want to separate and own 100%?
This building.
Why?
Hang on. I do believe that unfortunately, like there are times when the town doesn't have the capacity or the money, and that is also sometimes the situation that the village is in. They might not have the time or capacity or the money. I do believe, and like if we owned it and the village paid a fixed rent per se, when projects came up that needed to get done, it would just be much more streamlined. We'd have a better building for the public. I don't necessarily want it to cost the village a single penny more. I just want it to be where we say, oh, the clock tower needs to get done. We don't have to have a joint meeting or go back and forth or this or that. You know, if there was a leak in the roof, we gotta go 10 rounds with Muhammad Ali here just to get it repaired, and it's slower, and it's just,
are you saying the town
Causing
should own the
damage.
building? Should own the municipal building?
it makes more sense for us to
Well, I've
open
been
my
saying that
mind
for years.
because we have a buildings and grounds fund. And I
How
mean,
would
you
you
know,
suggest we, because currently it's 50% owned by the village.
yeah,
And so what would your terms be? How would you make that come about?
I really don't have the answer on how it would look. I have an interest in doing it just to protect the assets of the taxpayers.
Well, the
But-
big problem would be that they would want a tremendous amount of money to buy them out. That would be the first
That's
rough.
where it's going.
Maybe
And,
forward paid rent. I mean, did the town or the village take out any loans to build this building? No, they got grants, right?
Yeah.
Town got a grant.
Town gets grant.
Hey. Maybe forward paid rent, reduced rent for a 10-year period, I don't know. I don't want it to disadvantage either entity on either side, I just,
Well, I brought this up years ago when I was on the board the first time, that we down out on this building. And then they pay rent, but then when you start talking to them. They think it's a gold mine, they think it's a way for them to get a tremendous amount of money from the town to bail themselves out of a hole.
So if the town applied for grants for this building How is it jointly owned?
Well, we also sold property, right? And the village sold
The village kicked in some of it.
something.
Yeah.
Village had some money too.
They add money to it?
Yeah, originally, I think the town only had enough money to not finish this floor. Right, and then they got a grant to finish all of this.
Right.
They
This
can
wasn't
build out
complete.
the exterior and the bottom floor, that's it, the bulk.
There was also a lot, Rosemary probably knows the figures, but there was a shared expense to fix this building. With its issues. That both the village and the town paid for from memory, it was a considerable amount of money.
You mean for the roof?
The middle of the floor, the rotting siding and. This one area was running.
Did we also lifted the builder down?
Right.
I imagine that was quite expensive.
Yeah,
It was insane.
Another reason,
So your
In
point
my-
being that the village, excuse me, has assets invested to pay.
Oh, yeah.
The builder paid half any maintenance issue.
Yeah.
They had to put them half.
Yeah.
50%.
As far as
another,
arriving at a sale price, I I know in matters of divorce, usually the parties are not necessarily in agreement on the value of the house. So you know, you're required to get 2 or 3 appraisers to weigh in on the value.
I mean, maybe. You just asked, what are we interested in? I don't know if we have to have the full plan. I think we just,
Going down the same
this
road.
board needs to decide if they're willing. To have the conversation, and if the village board is not, that's okay. There are other ways to go about it, maybe we could. Boy, I don't know how this would work, but maybe we could form municipal.
Who said that?
Another committee. Maybe we could form a reserve fund specifically for this building. That the town injected $20,000 a year in, and the village injected $20,000 a year in, and it could only be spent on this building. But at least that would remove the money problem on the town sometimes, and on the village sometimes, we're both equal partners here. It might not reduce the time constraints and some of the squabble, but at least we could have the funds when we needed to go.
Okay, so I like your idea of let's just talk about which one
Yeah,
we're interested in doing and worry about how to do it as a separate item. So the municipal building is something we're interested in having a conversation about. Is that correct? You look like-
I guess ideally, everything would be owned by us, so. But for the municipal building specifically, since they're like in here already, I'm more, on this list, I'm more okay sharing that than others. If that makes sense. But
Okay.
I'd still like to own it in the long run.
Okay,
of
that's a
things.
conversation we'd have, just not
Yeah.
on your list, okay.
Mhm.
How about second item, mill houses and mill house and garages? We want
That's an
to,
albatross.
do we want to separate those or?
They give that to us, you know, if we take it.
I think we should separate the garages.
Okay,
I mean, it's,
Oh, wait, the garage is a separate line item?
yeah,
I think they should be. It's messy. But I think those 2 buildings could be more clean cut. Right? As it is right now, the village just spent $2 million on a garage that we own half of. It's messy, and I'm not saying I wanna go after anything at all, they did the hard work, they're there. But if we spent $2 million. Whether it was federal, state, or whatever, of taxpayer money, I would want the town to have sole ownership of that building.
mhm,
I believe the village would want sole ownership of their building.
Okay, so it's a conversation that we want to have.
How do you
So-
put that on the bounty?
The town garage and the village garage are shared,
Yeah,
are
everything
jointly
down,
owned.
everything down.
So you want us to go in the village garage and they own the top of it?
No, no. No, look, those are so clear cut, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how you subdivide in a brownfield. Huh?
Good luck.
Good luck. Is that an Act 250 thing? Just kidding, just kidding.
Who gets the old steel relic that left over from, I don't know, you guys want that, right?
Steel relic out back. In all fairness, we use it more for storage of our plows in the summertime than the village uses it. I don't know if they don't want it.
The what?
The steel relic. We used to call it the leaning tower when the wall was there and kind of dangling. But then it fell down. Didn't hurt anybody, thank goodness.
That should be an item on here.
I don't know if we even want it, but it's just a neglected structure.
It's, no one has.
Yeah, just, you know.
Huh?
Yeah.
Oh, great, we got the Historic Society involved. That just became a $2 million project.
Well, it's probably not maintained because there's no clear person in charge of it.
In limited.
Oh, there's no real way to maintain it. Wind blows it through it.
Yeah.
There's like no sides. Pretty much. There's like one side and a roof. It's just oddly tall.
Mhm.
Okay, how about the 180 acres?
Wait, you didn't say the mill house.
We did do a house, right?
Who wants that? Thinking
I want to own the land.
Can we just talk about the mill house at a different one? Once we figure out how to start subdividing the easy ones.
So you want to not talk about that and just continue talking about it.
What's your question, Paul?
We should talk
Do
about.
do we want to talk about resolving the ownership of the mill house? Yes or no?
Well, they would give it to us, they'd be more than happy.
They-
Let's take it over.
They tried to.
We're just gonna let that building like fall apart. I mean,
I wish we could
Or-
sell it to somebody.
yeah, well, I do too, but we can't until it's separate.
We could work together and say we're gonna sell it.
Practice for
Question,
Diana?
is it possible for some of these properties to be given to a third party, not the village, not the town? For example, we have too many committees, commissions, task forces. Is it possible that the select board could throw their support behind the formation of a Johnson Community Trust? Johnson Community Foundation. That would structure itself as a nonprofit. Obviously would work in close coordination with the select board. There could even be some kind of memorandum of understanding that the Johnson Community Trust would abide by. You know, whatever rules you set up that they would abide by, but it would be a separate nonprofit. And then that separate nonprofit could receive something like the 180 acres. And then the task force volunteers could work with the people that we've been working with to put in recreation trails. And obviously in conjunction with the town conservation commission, who already has a study on putting recreation trails on that property that's stagnated because there's been nobody to implement the plan.
We had somebody that was gonna look into that, but we just asked the question, they got all mad and quit.
Yeah, but I wonder if there's especially when there, I mean, I've been at meetings where mine is absolutely spot on. The village wants to get paid for stuff. They see that that has value. And I'm sure there's probably properties where the town would want to get paid for stuff, instead of doing this tit for tat, paying back and forth. Buying each other out, and then there's certain things that nobody wants. Is it an option to just like give the shared owned property to a third entity? And it might be the logical thing to consider forming at this time, the Johnson Community Trust. And then that organization could take over for you the low lecture hall. It could take over for you the 180 acres of recreation property. And you know, it's working in other towns like Hardwick. The Civic Standard is like a model of how this can work. You know, it's happened in Elmore with the Elmore store that was like one building focused. And, you know, a community trust might be an answer that would be an between like solving the merger issue, solving the joint property ownership issue. I mean, it's a messy thing. And maybe a community trust would be an intermediary step that would allow forward progress.
Did that town form that trust? Or did they just form themselves?
You know, it's kind of like the college closure symposium, like for as many different times as it's happened, there's a different model every time.
Hmm.
But the one thing that I can say is that community trusts seem to be the thing that's making the biggest difference economically and socially and in terms of change in our communities. And it's in collaboration and in support of the select board. It doesn't replace you.
Mhm.
But it's a way that you get that nimbleness that Evan is pointing to, you know, the ability to make decisions quickly, to act without having to convene 6 meetings to do one small thing. A community trust that operates, you know, appropriately and legally as a registered, you know, organization has a lot of freedom that you guys don't have, and
Right.
it would free up your time and energy a lot. And it would also give, I mean, I'm looking at it kind of selfishly here. I mean, I put in tens of hours for this rec economy task force, looking for grant sources. And then when I found out that you guys wouldn't even work as a pass through for the grants, I abandoned all that work. You know, is that in the best interest of the town? If we had a community trust of some type, it would allow these community volunteers that are dwindling and, you know, trying, you know, to actually do something instead of coming to meetings and being rejected.
As far as your community trust thing, I think it's a good idea, but as far as the 180 acres, I think that, and I'm certainly not speaking for the trustees. I will speak for the trustees because I was on the trustee board many years ago. And if they think the same way that we did back then, they would say, fine, you can do whatever you want with your 90 acres. We want to get paid for ours. You know, that's what they want to do. And I don't think it'd be a surprise. I think they want to get paid for their half. Some tangible thing, not, you know, trails, everything else. So I think that might be dead in the water. Unless we allow them to sell 90 acres of it, their half. But who picks out the half? If you have anybody doing picking, they're gonna want the better half. You know what I mean? So we're right back to where we started.
Initially, that was the village project, right? They brought the town in.
To buy it.
Weren't they buying it for a new wellhead at the time? They were supposed to carve out and sell. They involved the town chunked in 50%.
Well, the town needed.
Oh, that was a separate sale, it was 180 acres.
Oh,
That whole process though
That was a
was
separate
really crazy way back then. We could have bought the whole thing and salvaged all that copper, and then we allowed somebody else to buy it. They salvaged all the stuff and they sold it to the town and the village. I mean, initially people said, oh, the town shouldn't get into owning property, you know, and then it went to somebody else, and the town ended up buying it. It just,
Yeah, let's not
Just one of those deals.
Scott?
Just out of curiosity. I mean, we've been sitting on that land for a long time and. Sell it, give it to the private community, so you can let them do something, but it takes tax money, rolling back in, do you guys have a plan for it?
there's no plan for that.
Huh?
they voted not to sell it.
Yeah. Yeah, the select board went in front of the town voters years ago. And asked to sell it, and they were told no.
You might wanna ask again, because
Although we went in front of them like 2 years ago and asked if we could talk with the village about it. And they didn't say no to that.
right, cause we're a property, a lot of property. In villages.
You don't like government building government?
Well, you know, it's wonderful, but money's kind of come from somewhere, right?
Well, the hope is that some of that property will be utilized in whatever comes out of a rural recreation economy for rural communities project and study and effort, right? I mean, the idea would be to be some trails up there and so forth, hopefully. So while we don't have an immediate plan for it, there's potential for a plan in the relative near future, I would.
Previous rec coordinator wants to do bike trails up there.
Right. And that got silly really quick, because somebody was worried about asbestos contamination on the hillside. Coming from that plant. My comment when I heard that was, well, then the whole village is screwed because we used to be under a cloud. So things got awkward with the whole, like, let's build trails, because backcountry ski trails, I mean, it's moneymaker. Everybody wants to go backcountry skiing, it's got a perfect pitch. Lots of fun features, but it just sits there year after year, you're not being used.
Well, yeah, I think it's certainly a town asset that we need to look at. I think Mike has a good point. The village would probably want to be paid for it. I'm sure there are people in town that say the select board should be paid for it too. We're gonna give away a town asset. So. I don't know where that's gonna go. My hope would be that it's part of the recreation plan.
I'm open with the conversation of us jointly selling it.
I mean, people need higher ground, losing ground in the village for people to build homes up.
Yeah.
I don't know what's available up there for putting properties in, but there's folks in Johnson that are struggling for finding a place to live. Because there's nothing available, unless you have millions of dollars in your back pocket and want to head over to the hillsides, there's nothing in the village. We're sitting on that kind of land. And we're, you know, struggling every year with budgets. How do we make all this work? Again, we've acquired new properties. And buildings. Maybe another. That Mike locks himself around the house like he said he was going to. What did you say? When you said you're gonna chain yourself to the William Scott house, they raised it.
But
I got a
that,
lot of people that are gonna join me. I'm
Really?
that 180 acre
I
park
hope it's nice weather.
and the village garage parcel
Anyway,
are different
thank you. everybody.
parcels.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
The garage is parcel.
So 108 acres, we open to discussing with the village about its future.
Can I just add that? It's kind of the floodplain, so it could become a new village center.
I don't think
Pretty
that
steep.
parcel could.
It's pretty steep, most of it, isn't it?
We'd get real good at stairs.
Yeah. Right.
Pretty steep.
How about the backhoe?
We still want to try to buy that.
They said you
don't
couldn't
we?
build. on
I
it.
would like to buy the 20% out.
Yeah,
They weren't
Okay, so
interested.
we want
in
to talk
more.
about it, so that's a yes.
yeah, we want to talk about that. Again, they're gonna try to say it's worth a fortune.
No, I mean, the only way you could do it is to get it appraised.
Let's
Yeah.
just get-
Last
let's make a
time-
list. Let's not go down each one. It'll be here all night.
How we're already,
Computer and IT system.
I think we should continue to share that.
I think we should separate.
No, that's a tremendous expense that we don't need to have. All you need to do is share it and have a firewall, right?
I don't know.
Seems like it's something we should get their opinion on.
I think we should share that and have some kind of a firewall between it. There's no reason to get rid of that and have our own separate server. Those are expensive.
Very
They are.
good.
What's very good.
They are expensive.
Yeah.
Or you could go with cloud storage, which is a monthly fee or whatever, but.
I think we need to calculate the cost before we want to go on our own.
We already pay for, I don't know how much storage, but we do pay for storage already with our Microsoft account.
So these are, I guess, these are items that we should discuss with the village to see where we stand, see where they stand. I doubt they're gonna want to buy their own stuff also. Office staff, I think we can skip for the moment. Cell phone, That's not really a big deal, is it?
I wouldn't even bring it up.
Yeah.
Storm drains, we can bring up just to make sure the conversation goes south fast.
Nickel dime.
We don't need to talk about those.
Smokehouse. Salt shed,
Pretty easy to
Bring the hands
separate.
if you're gonna use the smoke.
We're subdividing.
take one, I'll take the other.
Sure.
Why not just, since the fire department's under the village, why not just give the smokehouse to the village?
Yes, that would be ideal, like a subdivision property, everything. And the salt shed we only use, it makes sense if we owned the property.
What about the cold storage building?
That one we should just not touch for now. That can be with the
What's
mill
that?
house,
What's
later date,
Storage building.
huh?
What's that cold storage building?
It's actually heated. Cold storage is heated. It's the one that rec stores stuff upstairs,
This is one that had raccoon problems
downstairs.
once.
If you go down there and you drive past the soccer fields, you actually go down Lenway Lane,
Oh,
right? Like down closer to the river.
okay.
The village used it. Well, it was being built, right?
Yep,
Yeah,
So we want that or
So
don't want
we
that?
have.
It's-
you know,
it's just-
50-50.
it's 50-50, it's used 50-50. If anything, we use the upstairs, so we use
What do they use for downstairs, you said?
just one garage bay. We use the other garage bay,
They put like a vehicle in it or something, or?
their bucket truck or something,
Okay.
Do we want it?
bigger truck.
Is that something we want to own, or is it any reason not to own it with them? Or are you just trying to separate assets just for the sake of it?
I was just trying to not talk about that building.
Sorry, a problem,
I. I mean, we both need the space. But neither of us needs the whole space,
Is it in okay condition?
huh?
Is it in okay condition?
What's your definition of okay?
You got
Yeah.
flooded.
It got flooded, but now the boiler is like way up high.
There's a boiler in it? Oh, cause you said it's heated?
It's heated cold storage. Don't you know?
so there's,
Right, would be-
Yeah,
Right.
they probably need a different building anyways.
Well, maybe we sell it to them and then we buy a better rec building.
But we still need space for our equipment, cause there's a $360,000 piece of equipment that sits in it all day long.
It is a degrader.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, so let's say we're gonna share that at the time being. All right, so we have at least a list of properties we're interested in discussing with the village. See what we want to do, see what they want to do.
Wait,
Okay.
what did we say about the backhoe?
Yes, we want to talk about it.
Okay.
The idea is we buy the 20% possibly. Okay, so we have a list of assets to discuss in a joint meeting. Next item is item 23, which is Legion Field Playground Equipment. Carl emailed in and said he looked into the town report. The Recreation Committee doesn't mention the blah, 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 blah. So in reference to Diana's point about the parents contributing to the playground, Rosemary dug up the Recreation Committee's town report article, which doesn't mention that the effort was initiated by parents. The article suggests that the playground equipment was a committee project, and the donor list shows who donated money to complete the project. So semantics somewhat, but in any event, it's a town project initiated by a committee, partially paid for with donations. So it doesn't really appear like we need to ask specific permission from specific people. John, I think you said you went and took a look at it and it looks a little run down, but it's,
Well, I took a look at it and, some of the things I was looking for was, cracking or anything that would scratch a kid. And I didn't see any of that. I mean, really, the only thing I really saw was, places where the sun hit it, it was faded.
Mhm.
And it could use good cleaning. I mean, to me, it looked like it was still usable. The question is where to put it.
Dumpster.
where are we with with the new playground money idea.
We got a grant for it.
We have the money, we have a grant. The question is, we got new Legion Field, figured exactly where to put it.
What he's saying.
So, you know,
Let's go pick one out.
so the question is whether to move this over there, somewhere near that, which makes sense, so kids can play in the same general area.
We should,
Redundant.
yeah.
Well, the other thing is you're gonna have this, this new shiny. This playground equipment. Then the one next to it is gonna be faded and. Just, so I think the new equipment is gonna, it's gonna emphasize. The other one.
The oldest.
What if
Yeah.
we, what if we donated it to like a local childcare facility or something?
I love that idea. And I think last time we talked with our insurance company about that, they said, put it in the dumpster. Cause you and they aren't the liability. We were just talking about liability earlier tonight.
Let's raffle it.
Then we still take the liability.
Well, the point is, I think I mentioned before what was wrong with the old stuff in the first place. You know, have you ever seen how they spruce up stadium seats?
Heat.
A torch, a big blowtorch. Wipe it across it, shines it up like it's brand new.
I think Seth made a good point at our last time we talked about this, that it may not be like safe. Cause it's not a like commercial playground.
Yeah, we probably should ask our insurance company if there's a concern about liability just in its current condition.
Yeah, and for us, like right now on Hoptown property, if it's a concern.
Well, you could have them sign a statement saying that absolves the town of any responsibility.
Who signed the statement?
Where will we give it to?
See, we went through that with the backdrop.
Every kid when they come to play.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you gotta
You
sign this
couldn't
first.
do that.
You were on the board.
Seems like
Seems like you could sell it in as is condition. I mean, I think if you give it away, you're probably a problem. You sell it for $1 and that's legal document, but
Sure.
the new equipment, my understanding was the new equipment and the old equipment kind of target two different age kids. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a toddler playground.
The new or the old one?
The old one that's there now. But
So the new one won't be for toddlers.
not specifically. I think it's just a general playground.
usually there are features that are good for various ages,
Yeah.
from toddler on up.
Well, I guess what I'm asking is there a reason to keep the old one at all?
I think it's a liability to keep it, personally.
I think it's redundant.
And if we move it over there, it takes up even more space from other.
We could work
But
in
it serves-
conjunction. Let's offer to the village.
It serves a
In trade for the
purpose,
shells.
it serves a purpose for now until there's a new playground,
Right.
I think. But related to the whole playground thing, we don't need to focus on this tonight. But I'm trying to remember on the master plan for Legion Field. Was the playground located toward the pavilion?
It's closer to the library.
Yeah, between the library and the street area, up in that front corner, where pies were formerly sold.
Okay, what the concern I had, and I don't know that it needs to be, okay, all right.
It's
For
right
some,
next to where
Yeah.
the old library building is.
yeah, okay. All right, for some reason I was thinking we were putting it over in this neighborhood where the current playground is. And I had a concern for little children in front of speakers, the
Right,
bandstand,
no.
but over
Mhm.
there, it's okay.
And this will be good because you can see it from like the street too.
Mhm,
Yeah, yeah.
okay,
Yeah, I think you're right, Peter. We originally were talking about putting it in the back, and I think Evan suggested moving it up front. And we went with it.
So can we sell it for $1? Or do it however, get rid of it, whatever legal way?
Drive it up to my house.
Sure.
Save you the dumpster fee.
Well, let's check our insurance agent, see if it's okay for us to use in the immediate time frame, and then we can think about longer term when we get another one.
Whatever way we do it, like I think it'd be nice to like give it to someone or like raise money from it somehow, like for a good cause or I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's plastic. It'd be nice not to just throw it away and add it to the waste pile.
Yeah.
But,
Is there like a local organization? I doubt Laraway would want it.
I was thinking just the childcare place like right above the hill. I don't know what it's called, but you know what I'm talking about? They like to have they slide on the hill in winter.
yeah, so let's find out the liability status of it before we try and give it to anybody and burden them with it too. Here,
Not this subject,
good.
but I thought that the GOMO survey was on the agenda and I realize it's not. But I did have a question for the board.
Do you need a motion?
Possibly.
We can't do motion because we didn't warn it. So
Okay.
we can certainly be talking about it afterwards. We can't decide anything to take action.
Okay.
Did you find out information from the surveyors?
Some, but all right. I had a conversation today with Matt Reed, who was one of the surveyors that had quoted a price before.
Yeah.
It's kind of a wide-ranging conversation. But he did say that and I misunderstood a little bit of his original proposal. It wasn't $3,000 just to do research. What he was proposing and is still proposing is that for $2,500 and access to some maps, either the photos I have of the maps or the ones downstairs, he would go up to GOMO and identify the line in the area that is currently in dispute or in question. And then we can do whatever else we want by way of survey work on the rest of the parcel, but given that they have prepared for a foundation.
Yeah, they started to work on it. And I went up and dropped off a letter with my card.
Yep.
And just told them we had a question on where the boundary is.
Yep.
And I asked them to reach out and
You'll have to speak up.
if they had a survey, the police provide it.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard
I
anything.
haven't heard anything.
You talked to him in person?
No,
Or-
no, they weren't there.
Oh, that's what your letter said?
Yeah, I
Okay.
went up, just dropped a letter. They had looked like a backhoe and a small tractor.
Mhm.
So basically, he's gonna survey one side of a four-sided lot for $2,500.
Yeah, basically.
I'll get it done. We authorized 10,000 last time. For the whole thing.
Did we hear from the other guy?
Not yet, no. But in total, I think they're probably gonna be comparable. Be in the $9,000 to $10,000 range for the whole thing.
Do that.
Well, the
Who was
board
the other
voted
survey?
last meeting to authorize to engage whoever was cheaper as long as they would honor their original quotes
Uh-huh.
to do the whole thing, just be done with it. We can't change that action tonight since we did warn it, but
I don't think the whole thing needs to be surveyed. I'll probably survey the other sides.
Well, again, we can't
There are
change it.
pieces.
We gave last
And
meeting.
And the other issue is on the other side of the property. It appears that the people on the other side of the pond have done clearing on our side of the line. So, anyway. Don't know what we can do, what you want to do, but that's where we are. If I hear from the other surveyor. Would it make sense for me to get a price from him for just that initial line? And see who comes in cheaper?
Sure, we can get a price and we can put it on next meeting's agenda to discuss, do we want to reverse our previous decision and just do a line? There was a lot of talk about, it's an older survey, we ought to get it done with
Yeah.
current equipment and establish it once and for all and just be done with it. You know, position
Yeah.
on both sides. Let's get the thing surveyed, flagged and. definitive.
The other related thing that I'll mention is, and I guess, I thought maybe Lois was bringing it up tonight. We've been talking on conservation with the Green Mountain Club, who's asked if we would entertain a right of way that would be 500 feet on either side of the Long Trail to preserve the Long Trail for posterity. They would be willing to contribute $5,000 for the cost of a survey if it were to include that right away. So,
You're gonna put that on next meeting agenda.
yeah,
Good man.
okay, all right.
Okay. Next item,
3 executive sessions.
executive sessions.
Mhm.
Thank you for your patience, and your input.
I don't know if there'll be any,
Not at all.
will there be any action? There may be action coming out. One of them.
We'll have to decide. No.
Can I just motion all 3? You just go in and get it done and file?
I don't think
They're all under
so.
the same.
No, well, no, I think there should be some specific.
Alright, I motion we enter executive session as allowed by 1 VSA 313, section 3 for personnel matters.
I'll end the meeting.
Need a second?
Making a specific finding that premature disclosure, blah, 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 yes.
You need that.